Hey, hang on just a sec. Are we good?
Good.
Okay.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That's all.
All right, roll call. Mark? Here. Gwen?
Here.
Todd? Here. Kenny? Here. Crystal?
Here.
Dale? Here. Therese?
Here.
Mike? Here. John?
Here.
Amber?
Here.
Robbie?
Not here.
And Nathan?
Not here.
Not here. We do have a quorum. Approval of the agenda. I'd like to make a suggestion that we move the permit fee to first under old business. Does anybody have an issue with that? I think it'll go relatively good.
I'm good with that.
Fine. Okay, we need a motion for that. I don't think we need a motion.
No.
And the minutes, we're gonna have to table that for tonight. They are not done. They'll have them at our next meeting. So old business, we need to discuss a permit fee percentage increase. John did send us the PowerPoint. And today he's just asking for a percentage to increase it. And then he can finalize the draft.
And it's 5 years, you can't change it, right?
Correct, yes, ma'am.
Any recommendation from the board? I think you can get to pull up is this here, which was just the draft.
Yeah, I'm not putting it on. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, we're looking at this one here.
Mhm.
We're just looking at the eight, this is the old one we're looking at, so it's the. Just looking at.
Any thoughts?
No, I'm just gonna listen and see what everybody else thinks and.
Yeah.
Any recommendation from the office?
To make up for the past 10 years and to keep up. It's my recommendation that we don't go below than 20%. We are extremely far behind. And we're running about 100,000 in the hole right now per year.
And we'll be locked in for 5 years.
Yes, sir.
John, can I ask what what is 20%?
20% would be 26, I believe is 26 cents per square.
It's
But-
25 for 25%.
25
Yeah,
for 25%.
30%.
So you're talking about dollars, when you come to larger homes. But every dollar counts.
Thanks for the suggestion, John.
Yes, sir.
Dale, any thoughts?
I understand it. I'm not a big fan of it.
What you said,
What's that?
what you said.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the cost. 20% seems to be a big jump.
On a minimum permit, 20% takes it up $20.
And
don't-
inflation's
I
gonna
don't know.
outpace the 20% anyway over the next 5 years. Every year that goes on, we become lower and lower. But it is price raising, so I understand.
With budget changes coming potentially from the state too, I think it's better to help fund your department from itself.
Yes, sir. We will lose money from the property tax. The email I sent earlier could possibly be an issue. Right now, we're at about 100%. But that's based on the last budget. We haven't started the new budget yet, or 100,000, I'm sorry.
25 cents per square foot, how does that work? Let's say a person now wants a 2,000 square foot home built and, you gotta do 25% on
No.
each square foot of
No,
a
sir.
2,000?
So right now, our fee is 20 cents per square foot.
Okay,
25% increase from that would put us at 25
Mhm.
cents per square foot.
oh,
Goes from 4
So
to
it was
5
5 cents.
So,
okay,
yeah,
okay.
Is anyone prepared to make a motion?
I would be willing to make a motion on like a compromise and, I mean, they need money to run it and everything is, my God, everything's gone up so high in the last few years. I'm not even adjusted myself to these prices, but I would say 10, I would make a motion to raise it up 10%.
We have a motion from Kenny for 10% increase. We have a second. Dies for lack of a second.
Okay,
Mark?
Split in the middle. I agree with what Todd said about no increase at all.
I'm not voting for any increase.
Oh. I'm kind of split in the middle, but I understand.
I understand.
Oh. I mean, you wanna make that motion, Todd?
I could.
Make that motion.
I'll make a motion that we raise it 0%.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Now let's take it to roll call.
Well, you just don't know yet.
I know.
I can't.
I'm happy.
me too.
I don't know.
We're undecided here.
Well, we gotta do something. with the
Okay,
motion, so
I already made my motion, so I have to say nay.
no, your motion died.
I know, and I, but
Whatever you
that's the
want.
way I felt 10% in my heart, that
Right.
would be helpful. So,
So
yeah,
all these free fees, they go for you going out there. They go for,
They go for the fuel, the inspections, the plan reviews, the re-inspections, the software we use.
Office supplies,
Office
postage,
supplies.
legal.
all of
Everything
that's
has gone
going
up.
yeah.
Right. We haven't. Um. It's a hard pill to swallow, but I wanna remind you guys that either everybody pays for it across the county. Or only those developing pay for it, and that's the easiest way to swallow that pill.
okay, I'm gonna do roll call on the motion on the table. Mark Allen?
Yep.
Gwen?
Nay.
Todd?
Yep.
Kenny?
nay.
Crystal?
nay.
Dale?
Aye.
Therese?
Nay.
Aye.
Yeah, you got a break
Yeah,
it.
right, yeah.
Nay.
Okay.
I was counting quick.
We're close.
The other counties around us. Not that I wanna be like them, but
Last side a lot cheaper.
The counties around us are higher, but the more rural counties were about the same. They have different stipulations that change prices. We are by far the lowest around us though.
and we have to remember we're locked in for 5 years.
We
Yeah.
have 2 other counties that are looking at this also that have reached out to our prices
Yeah,
Yes,
because they're looking at increasing theirs.
I suspect over the next couple of years, everybody's probably gonna be reviewing it.
Yeah.
This is a difficult one for me only because, I mean, I don't like the idea of prices raising, of course, but I've also worked for county government forever and I know what it's like to constantly be under a tight budget and have budgets threatened, I guess you could say, and I don't know if that's a good word, but
That's not a good word.
all right, so this and that, you know what I'm saying, not threatened, but it's tough. I mean, we have to have money for these offices to run and the staff and
So I have a question, Don.
Yes, sir.
So the other counties around us, do they have any different fee based on the type of construction? Okay, a stick-built house versus a house that's brick.
they do not.
They do not.
Nope. New single family Go ahead.
They do charge for inspections outside of the permit, ours
Yeah.
include the inspections. So as we have for the mechanical, gas and electrical inspection with a new single family dwelling, other counties will add additional charges for those few inspections at $50 or $100 each of those. On top of
It's where the
permit. So
gap
when they come
changes.
in a little bit lower for price per square foot. Other ones, they have a cap, kind of if you're this size to this size, it's a certain
Right, I
price,
saw that.
so.
I have a viewpoint. So you get your funding through your fees. If you don't get enough funding for the fees, you have to go to the council.
And we
Yeah,
to
we,
request-
to vote appropriately.
to be fair, we're never gonna make up our costs.
But this would help
We're always
tremendously.
gonna have to go to the commissioners and the council. This just eases the burden a little bit, but we will never break even. We're operating at about 180,000 a year and we pull in anywhere from 7 to 80,000.
Do you think your revenue, since you've taken over, has increased?
Yes, but to be fair, most of our increase in revenue has been because of my code enforcement. It's not a stable form. Eventually, people are gonna start
Sure.
doing the right thing and that income source goes away.
When was the last time it was
2016.
2016?
Crystal, what are you thinking?
Well, I don't like paying it at all,
Yeah,
but I see the point of it.
I like the idea of more funds coming from people that are building than it spread out throughout the whole county as an expense.
Yeah.
Well, we can always table, or if there's another motion.
I'd like to run back to my last statement. I don't like to say circle back because that's sickening. But going back to that, I know it's hard. I mean, look, that house has got a value, okay? So you're building a 2,000 square foot house that's stick built with vinyl siding. Okay, it's probably $150, $175 square foot, just guessing. Now, if you have a brick facade all over it and architectural roofing and all this, you might be at 200, 225 a square foot. So, I mean, I know this would be hard to do, but it appears there ought to be a graduated scale similar to how taxes are assessed. I know that would be hard to do.
I think the labor that would go in for the plant, like some of those reviews for it, might even outweigh that.
Just put in the orders that they have to show all that up front.
That's where taxes come in too, though. Because you're.
It does, yeah.
More.
So I don't know. I'm
But
just
that
trying to-
tax base is going away gradually. The issue with that is
See
it
it.
would be time consuming and
be.
it would require me to hire essentially assessors to go out to these construction sites and verify they're using the materials they claimed when they pulled the permit.
So just make more ruckus.
yeah.
I was trying to look at an easy way out. Okay,
So kind of what you're talking about, Todd, and maybe a compromise is, one of the things that we're seeing a lot in the county is that we need affordable housing. There's a big difference between affordable housing and, these big monstrosities that some people build and things like that. So what if you did a lower increase for a smaller square footage, and more the square footage? I know this sounds bad. It sounds like a Democrat, but I'm gonna say it. And that is that if you can afford to build a 3,000 square foot house, right, you can probably afford a little more of an increase. If you're trying to build a modest starter home at 1,200 square feet, there's probably a reason you're building a 1,200 square foot home, right? So what if you were to look at a different, and I don't know how hard that would be for you guys, Don and Amber, but if, up to a certain square foot, this is the percent increase from here to here, this is the percent increase.
were some of the counties like that or not?
More so.
Yeah,
They have a little bit.
the graduated scale.
largest things, I know we're focusing on square footage and the 5 cent difference between current and possibly 20 to 25%. But our biggest permit that we get every week, most often, John runs all across from Sampier to Walkerton in one day. Is an electrical permit we charge $50 for, so with an increase, that would go to 60.
And is
Yeah,
that,
it's not
is
bad.
that electrical permit, is that like for getting the service turned
Yeah,
back on?
Even if the service was cut and it was cut for more than 30 days, an RMC require an inspection. So the individual, no matter the size of the house, have to come in and get an electrical permit. So outside of just even square footage, even if we just considered the electrical, mechanical ones that are 70% of our.
My only fear with the electric
permits.
is that people typically, it's because they couldn't pay their bill. So they're already struggling and.
No, if they don't pay their bill,
Okay, is that,
That's,
It's not
it's within
just-
2 years. If they don't pay their bill for an extended period of time, then we have to do an inspection. But if it's shut off for lack of payment, it's turned right back on us.
So there
There's
is
no
no-
inspection required.
okay.
This is extended periods, 2, 3 years that it's been with
Well,
us.
and I know that one of the things, I can't remember if it was Todd, maybe at the last meeting when this came up, you know, you mentioned that. Or somebody mentioned something about, well, if we raise the fee, then people may choose not to build here. If we just let them build, we get tax revenue. And that's not really necessarily true because we have the frozen levy. Well,
Yeah. Goes back to a lot of other things too,
right.
so.
Any more discussion from the board?
Is it enough to put that much of a burden on somebody that wants to build a brand new home to increase the fee a
it's
little bit?
$100 on a 2,000 square
Maybe-
feet house.
I don't think.
Maybe
that's-
not,
so.
maybe, but it's just the whole optics of it. Is what,
Yeah,
you know, that's what doesn't sit right with me. I mean. We as a county, we have a service that we have to provide. Which we have chosen to provide. So. It's like, suck it up and just do it. And pay for it. I mean,
But I think, I mean. It hasn't been raised in 10 years. How many other entities have not raised their prices in 10 years?
and we can't for another 5.
Right.
Do you, if you table it or choose to 0%, there is no time. It's once it's raised
Okay.
even 1%, then you're locked in
Okay.
for 5 years.
for 5 years.
Going back to meeting or two ago, I agree with Todd. You know, he's on he does not want any taxes on the taxpayer increase. I understand that. But the money's gotta come from somewhere to take care of this, so
You're right.
one way or another,
They'll
it's
go
gonna
into
come
storage.
back on the taxpayer. If we don't put it on the builder, then we're gonna put it on the taxpayer. And
Thing is, you put it on a taxpayer, it might be 1 penny,
yeah, I agree with that, but
maybe 1 penny,
no tax increase.
maybe 10
No,
cents.
that's just joking around with it.
I
I agree.
joke.
I do, I do, I understand,
I'm old.
you know, but, you know, at the same time, one way or the other, the money has to come from someplace to run the offices and the services.
And $100 increase on a 2,000 square foot home, you're talking about 1 penny over the life of a house too.
Yeah,
So-
that's what I'm talking, that's about what it would be for every property owner,
Right.
1 penny. Total.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess, here's something I'm just gonna say. This board, I like this board a lot, because we can have these engagements. And I'm not gonna be pissed off whether it's 0 or 50%. So, there you have it. Motion away.
Well, folks. We can table or we can suggest another percentage.
So much for thinking this was a quick one, Martha.
Right?
Well,
Actually, we table it.
we have a motion from Crystal to table. We have a second.
I'll second it.
Got a second from Todd. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
This is the weirdest vote I've ever seen in my life.
They make it sit.
Somebody will make a motion for a certain percentage, it's just a matter of how much.
Yeah, okay, well, I'm gonna do roll call on this one. Mark,
No,
Gwen,
Aye.
to table,
Mhm.
Todd,
Aye.
Kenny,
Aye.
Yes. That's what I'm talking
Crystal,
Hi.
Dale,
Aye.
Therese.
Nay.
Okay, what's our count there?
about. Well, 6, you're good.
Okay,
Everyone but one.
Yeah, you will.
So could I ask one of you guys to do one thing before the next meeting? Is send that PDF with all the counties around us again. You know, with all their rates, if you would please, because I don't, I tried to find it, but in this county email, I can't find it.
Well, like I
I'd
said,
have
some of them
to,
are,
I'd have to
because
for you to
it
find
says
it.
new single family dwelling, but it doesn't include.
The documents you're talking about, I sent before you came on the board.
Okay, then I would
So you
like
would-
to have them.
And also I have one other request.
Yes, sir.
Which other counties have certain inspectors? More counties have electrical inspectors, have plumbing inspectors, so justifiable. They will say that their rate needs to be higher because they have more employees. So I can understand that too. Just saying.
Tuesday.
Well,
I think we also have to look at their budget deficit too, like how far.
I don't disagree with
Yeah.
that either. I'm not sure they lose it.
Mhm.
I will attempt the budget deficit. I'm not too sure that's.
Well, I can get it from Marshall County.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, because I know they have multiple inspectors in Marshall.
okay, I'm gonna ask the board, can we put this on our regular schedule meeting in May? As we can table again, or? That'd be all right,
Yes, yeah.
yes, good with that, John?
Good certain information.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, I'll leave it to the board. You guys want to start with solar or battery? Battery it is.
Right.
That's an easy.
Well,
That's an easy one. That's an easy one.
You heard that.
That's the easy one. On this.
Well, so is the last thing supposed to be.
And so.
well, it's not bad to table it because we are locked in for 5 years, so I'd
Right.
rather table it than people have regrets on the way that we vote, so. All right, so the way we did it on the last work session, for those that didn't attend, is kind of went through sections, and then if there's subsections, just kind of hollered that out. If folks want to bring up some topics in there for discussion.
I'm sorry.
John has requested that we do make any changes to this official, and we're gonna keep it simple. If we make suggestions, we're gonna do a motion, pass it or not pass it, and then it's clear to John for his changes. So we'll just kind of hammer through this. Section 1's pretty self-explanatory. Section 2. Any thoughts? You following along as we go? Okay, perfect. Section 3. So I'm gonna be that guy, I guess. Section 3. We recently had an education about definitions. And I think, and there's another piece to this in the back, but I don't know if this is a good time to define construction and work.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Kenny had that discussion, didn't he?
Boy,
I think it needs to be here agenda 6,
yeah.
because it doesn't here. It's-
I'll just tell you the way the state and the way the federal government do it. There's the first day of work, okay? That is the first day of construction. Doing all the preliminary drillings, geotechnical, that is not construction, that is not work. You may do that before you're even awarded a contract. Because we do it all the time.
Okay.
Well, my suggestion to John here is in that same vein is, he put some language together that defines construction and work and what our county's gonna interpret that as.
Yes, sir.
And where is that?
Say again, ma'am.
Good
Because-
question.
Where is
Let
it?
Good question.
Let me tell you.
Construction versus work?
The key reason this is important.
Yeah.
The key reason that's important is last May, when some of the planning commission board went out to look what was going on. And it was said that wasn't work. And they got thrown off. So now they come here now and they say it is work. Well, here's a news flash for them. If it is work and it has started, there is no tax abatement. By law, there's no ERA, there's no EDA, that is gone. We don't have to vote on it, because that was brought up at the May meeting, no, they haven't started work. We still have to do the EDA. Well, if they have started work, then that's off the table, so we don't have to even vote on it. There's nothing to vote on for the council. So that's why that definition is so important.
And John, I'm asking, where is your definition in here? What section?
Work and construction, if it's not mentioned in here, it would default to Article 6. Work and construction aren't laid out. The way the ordinance is written, they are hand in hand. However, obviously, as you've seen, there is interpretation. So, we can definitely clean this up to make it very clear between work and definition.
I think we have the definition, John, I think the definition is in the solar ordinance, but it's not in here.
I don't think it's.
I don't think it's in
It
the
is in
solar.
the solar.
I didn't see it in
I
here.
didn't see it in the solar. but-
There,
It's
you
in
know,
there quite a
where
few
they
times.
say
Yeah, but it's
construction.
not- but it has-
Well,
So yes, we
Yeah.
did, so here's the thing.
Very-
In the solar ordinance, it mentions construction must start, in this one, it doesn't, so. I think everyone's clear on the definition of construction, so it doesn't need to be mentioned in the solar ordinance.
Yeah,
I think
see,
it
it's right
does.
here.
What does it say?
Definitions 3, section 3, is this the solar?
Oh, yes, no, that's right, we
Construction,
discussed this at the solar.
activity
I
related
added
to
that.
testing, bonding,
Okay.
Yeah,
that needs to be
Yes,
changed.
I
because
added
The definition of construction.
It is not.
But that's what's in here now.
That's what's in there now.
I-
But that's in
But
solar.
that is,
And so,
Yeah.
May I
You
say-
you
if
just added
they
it.
work is.
No, that was existing, I need to change it to remove the
It's
soil boring.
in the ordinance.
Well, in this one,
this graph,
well, that needs to be removed because boring does not work.
It is on my list to change, yes, sir.
What are you changing it?
Attorney
And you
for
tell
the
us what you're
interpreter.
changing it to.
Everything from what I'm tracking, I'm sorry, Viz is not here. This is his baby. I draft everything up that you guys discussed and I send it to you as a follow-up and then I CC him. So he might have
What you
missed
did
it.
Tonight was to have everything in, this is the battery one.
Yes,
So
so
I don't
everything
see a
you list,
definition
I'm
of-
gonna do the same. When Viz sends me the next copy, I will conditions check it to make sure all are changed. But I remember construction versus work being discussed at the last meeting. And it was my opinion that some of the items listed in construction did not constitute construction and it needed to be changed.
So we're talking about the battery right now.
Yes, so I can mirror what I'm doing to the solar, well, I can have Viz mirror what we did in solar to match the battery. Or we can leave it and let Article 6 being the governing document.
I would-
Whatever's
I would
not mentioned
define
is
it.
defaulted.
I see, I think it's-
Define
Well, I
it,
would define it.
yes, in each
Yeah.
ordinance.
Okay,
So
so
we don't win any.
is
So
that a
when-
motion from Therese to add the definition of construction and work to the definition?
Yes, but we need to come up with a definition.
Well,
He has one.
He does, have-
We,
can you,
I
can
have
you
one,
read the
yes.
definition
There's
to us?
definitely a very clear definition between the
Yeah.
those.
But we need to
and
make sure
preliminary-
we have it tonight.
I will,
That we
trust
all-
me, I'm well
Okay.
aware
Oh, I
of
trust,
the importance of this
Thank
definition.
you.
okay,
Yeah,
so we have-
I say
Yeah.
define and clarify that. And we have to really, I'm learning, I learned last meeting with the BZA, cannot have any great words in
Yes.
there, man. It's either yes or no, or no maybes or possibly, or.
If I have a recommendation, Chris Klein pointed it out, it does make a lot more sense to just remove the word work from any part in this document and replace it with construction.
He's right.
define construction.
Construction,
Yeah, you don't need two to muddle it up.
because now it's.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's only.
are you saying that the definition of construction is in?
The
way we
definition of
like it in
construction
the-
is what matters.
It's in the solar ordinance.
Yes,
The way
it is, but it's the wrong and it's too generalized.
See, and that's why, before I make a motion,
Yeah.
I want to know what your definition is.
Right, so define construction and I would take out work completely from both documents and all documents going forward that deal with permitting. It was, in my opinion.
So your definition of construction, does it consist of physical installation of permanent
Yes,
structures?
it's excavation, land clearing, foundation work, dropping racks, things like that.
Okay.
It's physical improvement to the land.
And
Okay,
actually
But it makes sense.
erosion items too.
Yeah.
That's all, that is all.
would it make sense to also add something like preliminary activities such as surveys, testing, permitting, material delivery, or administrative work shall not constitute commencement of construction? Because those are the preliminary, define the preliminaries so that you don't have the gray area.
The
think we need-
deeper you put it, the less question there is. I think everyone at this board and in the audience knows what preliminary work is, but
But
we can make it as in-depth as you. I can break it down Barney style and include everything.
Be
if you
very
guys want.
definitive.
Yeah,
Okay, I'll stay with my motion to.
okay, we got a motion from three.
Define the word construction very thoroughly.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Second from Kenny. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Section 4.1. Do you sure? Welcome to it.
I'm cheating off of you.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. Wish I had an extra for everyone too. I hate this thing.
Mine out.
4.2.
I have a 4 point something.
I got it. I got it.
I have an addition into the section 4.
I do, that's why I'm cheating off of his, cause I got this, but I'm cheating off of it.
Does it fit in one of the other ones, man?
Yeah,
No,
The existing?
I'm like, I do like the
Sections.
yeah.
No, not really.
Okay, can you wait till we hit the end of four?
Yep.
to-
Sounds good. No problem.
Can I ask a quick, what's on my mind, otherwise I'll forget? In our BCA meeting, we got hung up pretty good on that definition with the attorneys on work and we can't change that for solar. I mean, you can't really change it after the fact that we've already been negotiating now. But that anytime you come up with something like that, they've got an argument to that prepared. That's what trapped us all in that last meeting and
When they trap me.
I wouldn't say that you're trapped. Well, you're not trapped, right?
well, we got members on our board that wanted to go out and look.
You're free to make your own decision based on it. However, I will say that this ordinance being newer than Article 6, anything you put in this ordinance will supersede Article 6. So if you want it more clear in this definition, I will put it to front or I'll have Viz do. These definitions apply to this section of the ordinance only. They don't overwrite anything in Article 6. So whatever you do right, applies to this and it doesn't apply to the rest of the ordinance.
That's a good idea.
So did you want to dive into that now or wait?
No, we're gonna wait till the end of 4.
4.2. 4.3. 4.4. 4.5. Seen before.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Could we back up just 1 minute
Sure.
to 4.4? Maybe this is redundant. But shouldn't it be in there that any permits issued by State of Indiana IDEM or Army Corps of Engineers? Should that maybe be expanded? Even though I know it has to happen before, but that's just a thought.
So it would be easier for you to add that in the permit requirements, so it becomes a prerequisite to pull the permit.
Right, and that's where I'm wanting to
Yeah.
add it.
But I think there's a section specifically
It
in there
says that,
for
okay, all right,
requirements.
I'm just following along section by section.
Because it needs to be more than one signature
Yeah.
too.
All right, I'm done.
Okay,
Sorry.
so here's my addition to 4. And this one is, it's long. You want me to go ahead and read it all?
Probably.
Okay.
I'm not sure anybody here has it.
So, this is basically so that this provision ensures that large projects can't avoid our rules by being divided on paper. If it functions as one project, then we regulate it as one project. So basically it's to prevent the circumvention of this ordinance, all solar energy development that is part of a common plan of development shall be considered a single commercial solar energy system, regardless how the project is divided, phased, owned, or submitted for approval. For purposes of this ordinance, a common plan of development shall include, but not limited to, any solar installation that are located on contingents, can't say anything today, Parcels or parcels separated only by a public or private right of way are under common ownership, control, or contractual arrangement, including affiliated entities, subsidiaries, or related business interests, share infrastructure, including but not limited to access roads, inverter systems, substations, transmission lines, or interconnection facilities, are proposed, constructed, or operated in phases or stages as part of a larger coordinated development, utilize a common point of interconnection to the electrical grid, are marked, financed, or represented to regulatory agencies or investors as a single project, where the Plan Commission or BZA appeals determines that multiple applications or developments constitute a common plan of development. Such project shall be aggregated and reviewed as a single CSES for purpose of minimum and maximum acreage thresholds, setback requirements, township coverage limitations, permitting requirements, environmental, drainage, and infrastructure review. It's just a little bit more. No applicant shall avoid or attempt to avoid the requirements of this ordinance by subdividing land and creating separate entities, phasing development, or submitting multiple applications for what is functionally a single project. The Plan Commission and Board of BZA Appeals shall have the authority to make final determinations regarding project aggregation based on the totality of the circumstances and evidence presented. And then any I have to have somebody else read that today. Regarding whether a project constitutes a common plan of development shall be resolved in favor of aggregation.
What is that, for solar or battery?
Battery, it's in the solar one too, but it's in the
We
battery.
need to change the terminology from CF.
Sorry, thank you.
Yeah.
That's what I thought, I'm like, wait.
I know, I heard it too.
I put it in both. Thank you.
Gwen, did you want to add that as 4.6
Or,
or in addition to another one of the
no, it would be its own section.
4.6?
So it would be 4.6.
I guess my recommendation would be to send that language to Nathan and make sure that it's all legal.
Did he get it? And was he copying in the email?
He was,
Yeah.
yeah.
He had no,
I don't know if he's even,
I don't know, I didn't get a response from anyone, but, so I should make a motion to send this language to Nathan and have them review it?
Just added, we have the
Okay.
language already.
can we add it as 4.6 and then?
Okay,
say your motion.
oh, yes,
Can we have a
The audit is
motion from
4.6.
Gwen? And are we gonna let Nathan review that?
yeah.
Make sure the language is good.
Mhm.
Okay. Do we have a second?
One second.
Second from Teresa. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Anything else for the entirety of section 4? Section 5.1,
This is where yours would fall in, sir. Right here under 5.2.
Okay.
did you wanna,
Well, none of that appears to be in here,
Right.
right? So before you can do anything, I mean, there's certain things. You know, there's the general construction permit, which used to be Rule 5. Rule 5 is gone. It's been gone forever. You probably gonna need the 401, the water permit, and you could need something from the Army Corps of Engineers,
Fish and Wildlife.
Fish and Wildlife, IDEM. It's almost like if you could put any applicable state government agency or federal that has jurisdiction over this. Because, you know, you can't start any construction until you got that general construction stormwater permit, nothing.
So John, are you saying, I'm just curious, so what you're saying is that in with their completed application, they would already need those permits?
Yes.
Well, I would think before, because
I just wanted to make sure I'm not asking.
For a house.
Right.
how can you give them permit for something they don't have all the stuff for and then expect
I
them to do
agree.
it wherever they feel like?
I just wanted to make
I
sure.
mean, I think it'd be cleaner for everybody.
I'm gonna put, just to shorten it,
Yeah,
any preliminary, permitting from the state, will be required and added as an.
I think the federal government
And
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so,
Okay.
So we need to just expand on this a little bit and give more detail, I think is what Todd's,
Yep, for sure.
and that's something you.
It doesn't have all the preliminary, but it's no different than building. I'll include what is required for a building. For example, the highway department, whether it's state or county, we need a highway department permit before they pull their building permit. We need septic, so
Oh, you're talking.
the basic preliminary requirements from the state and federal.
So I have a motion from Todd to expand on the requirements before the permit can be pulled, and John said he can work on that. We have a second?
One second.
Got a second from Gwen, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion passes. Good input. Anything else on 5.1? 5.2?
$75 is a little low, but it's a lot better than 30. Put it that way.
What's the standard?
Usually when we do something, it's, most of the times they're 80, sometimes 90. But
He's an overachiever,
That's okay.
75, pretty good for a
we
solar
don't let
company.
anything out less than, I think it's less than 90. But that's okay, it's better than 30, like I
Yeah,
said,
it is, yeah.
you know, and that's workable. I mean,
5.3? So the only thing I question here is it's saying that the TRC is going to review this. Well, in our case this year, we're not exercising our right to have a TRC. We're doing it as the plan commission. So should we have a little note in there that if we don't have a TRC,
Plan commission will default
Right.
as the TAC review
yeah,
committee.
just a little, that way there's no questions. Anything else on 5.3? 5.4?
once again, you probably ought to change the technical committees
Mhm.
or plan commission in that line as well, right? It says plan commission review and approval, the plan,
Oh, yeah,
so consider the tech committee, but
Yeah.
we don't have a tech committee.
so that might be just a little snip right there.
Yeah, if I put
Yeah.
it at the front in the absence of a
Yeah.
TAC, then,
Right.
Yeah.
then
just so
that'll
it's clean.
apply to everything.
Yeah, just so it's clean.
I just don't want there to be a technicality,
Oh.
you know, but
Is it open for you, for the county to hire an engineer? Because we, mind you, it may not have been what we thought it was, but in the original ordinance, we had an engineering firm that would review some, because again, you guys are experts with fire suppression and all of that. And I don't know, I can't remember, it's been a while since I looked at battery, if there's anything in there about, because I know in the old one, it was that they are expense.
I think that's later, actually, in the language.
Is it later in the?
Yeah, because I,
Maybe just make a note if it's not there when you
Yeah.
go back, because this might be, it's in the solar, but I'm not sure it's in the
Said that- You
battery.
said that word.
we'll not circle back to it, but we'll come back to it.
There you go, thank you.
Okay, 5.5. Larry, can you see that okay from back there? Okay. I'm gonna suggest we had a lot of empty seats if you wanted to come up.
Oh, I'm good here.
Okay,
I actually fit better in these chairs than I do those.
understood.
Are they different?
Yeah.
They are,
Those
aren't
are
they?
cloth.
Huh.
I think
And
those
these
might
are the
be
new
more
ones.
comfortable.
They fit me better. Now, some people like those chairs, but
Huh.
they're different.
5.6.
Again, we have that construction.
Yeah, that's exactly what I've got highlighted here. So,
Yes, so we did those changes to solar, but they didn't apply to battery. I'll make a general note that any change we did to solar also needs to be adjusted in the battery.
Construction will be defined.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
5.7. 5.8.
Are we still doing twice?
Yeah, 5.7, and well, the solar is, they get one renewal,
Yeah.
this one is two. There's a conflict. It's not, they're two separate things, but oftentimes battery is gonna go hand in hand with solar. Solar.
So why,
So I would think it would be once too then, right?
Yeah, good catch.
I would say once.
So then the third renewal just needs to go out of there.
Yeah, I would too.
Yes.
So you're suggesting take out the twice and,
Just make it once.
yeah,
It's like the solar.
okay. Crystal has a motion to adjust from once or twice to once.
I'll second.
Second from Therese. All those in favor?
Uh,
Aye.
Aye.
Sentence on this one.
Anybody
Okay.
opposed?
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Sounds like you got to go ahead on that. 5.8,
Or what? That's my question. Or what? If they don't do any of those, like has not been done in the past, or what?
well, he does have enforcement in the back.
Okay.
On the solar, again, I don't think battery was adjusted. I don't think Fizz got around it.
I think it's in there.
If it
Unless
does.
I got them
uh,
meshed together in my
At the
head.
end of the day, or what still falls on Article 6 if it's not specified here. And Article 6 is pretty clear about the termination and revocation of buildings.
So that means the as-built plans that we have never received should fall
No.
into Article 6?
So. No. They should, but as-built plans aren't discussed because
Oh, okay.
you know what I mean? Like it's,
But they are now though.
the old solar ordinance doesn't really.
Okay,
Shame on our predecessors.
yeah.
So I have two things in section 5. I have them noted for solar, not battery, but I'm thinking since you guys are talking about both. And I found these in a couple of places. One would be strengthening the permit expiration language. Expiration is implied, but it's not really clearly. So adding something like failure to commence, John, I got this from you the other night, failure to commence construction within the required time frame shall result in automatic expiration of the permit by operation of law. Again, it's just clarifying that if they don't start it, that can create expiration. And then the second is, I'm seeing this more and more in other counties, and that's adding a vested rights clarification. Which is no vested rights shall accrue under any permit issued pursuant to this ordinance unless substantial physical construction has commenced in accordance with the requirements of this ordinance. So it stops the vested rights arguments that happen sometimes. So they understand based on the ordinance that they have.
We do have that in the zoning ordinance,
It's in the zoning.
654, 6-5-4.
Yeah, I think that might be where I
Uh,
grabbed it from, but I just don't know if we want to.
But we can make it very clear that we're referring to vested rights but that would be a Viz thing because vested rights is kind of touching on. That's where a lot of companies and lawyers get ramped up is when you start discussing vested rights. So I can have Viz look at adding language that clearly defines vested rights. If you choose not to, 6-5-4 does clearly outline your right to build and what must happen for you to maintain your right to build.
Any thoughts from the board there? Probably worth at least asking Nathan about.
This section 5 stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, section 6. So. Trying to sort through your thoughts here on this, John, and maybe Nathan was working on this too. It's special use within ag zoning. Shall not be allowed in residential, commercial, industrial, or floodplain. I guess why would we have an issue with them doing it in commercial or industrial?
It should be an industrial.
I
Or
think
should
he just tied it to solar. The only time you would really have a battery storage outside of solar would be either a data center or like a jump station for natural gas for power. So I think he was just trying to keep it with the solar, but if you guys want it to be able to go in industrial and commercial, I don't know, commercial is probably a little too high density population wise, but I don't see why industrial or light industrial couldn't be included.
I don't see why it couldn't be on industrial or.
It's very similar.
Yeah. Yeah, any thoughts from the board there?
You know, industrial only.
Fun?
I would like to keep it how it is in solar so that they're both the same.
Okay. 6.2. One thing that I kind of caught my attention here, and it doesn't define this. So their equipment is isolated by a fence. Should we have a restriction on how much space is between the equipment and the fence?
I couldn't answer that, honestly. I don't know the blast radius or the burn rate of lithium ion. I don't, you know what I mean? I wouldn't be able to answer that.
My only thought is if emergency crews showed up and they're standing outside the fence.
Because it's 5 feet away.
And the fence is 5 feet away, and these guys are somewhat untrained, or they're new to the crew, and they're all standing there wanting to know what to do, and something happens.
I wonder if there's an NFPA
I'm looking.
about that.
So if I'm understanding and we get a consensus, you guys want to look into the standoff distance between the building themselves and the security fencing.
I think it's something worth exploring.
I agree.
Yeah,
Now's the time to do it.
I mean, if there could be even a minor explosion there and debris could go, say, 100 yards, maybe we need a gap there to protect anybody that was driving by and thought they saw smoke and ran up to the fence, you know?
To say the world.
I found the NFPA. It's NFPA 855. It even talks about you should have 20 feet wide standard fire access width between buildings, must allow apparatus to be able to get around and alongside the equipment. From the fence, it has property lines, other structures, 10 to 15 feet minimum from fence to equipment, bare minimum scenarios, 20 to 30 feet common when a fire access lane is included.
So
So they want a 20-foot fire access.
They want at least a 20-foot fire access between everything and the fence too.
And that's
Just-
minimum, right?
That's minimum, yeah. So, and it says 20 to 30 is common.
So they're.
It does say rural departments tend to need extra maneuvering room.
Because-
I don't know why.
Because they're bringing in
Maybe it's
the fire
the type of equipment.
As a
Cities have
former,
built-
as a former fireman, I was lieutenant.
If you're on the middle of the back, you're not gonna have a hydrant there
20
anyway.
feet is not enough to be bringing in heavy duty equipment and people running around, especially if you're dealing
You're
with
not gonna be
something that
fighting
you
that
don't
with
know
water.
what it's gonna do.
Face now.
You don't know if it's gonna,
Yeah.
if it's gonna.
All you're gonna fight in a battery fire is the aftermath.
They've already said they'll just let it burn.
Yeah, just-
Evacuate
Yeah,
everyone.
I mean, you're not gonna fight.
It says you want to prevent the fence, you want to keep the fence from becoming a hazard. Meaning debris or blast pressure can compromise the fencing if it's too close.
Well, that's reassuring.
That's about clear as mud.
Yeah.
Maybe
A
we
little bit
should,
more room would not hurt matters than 20 feet for a fire truck and equipment and people running around, you know, it's pretty tight. It's not very wide.
I'd sure like John to do a little more research on this, but I think we should have a minimum of 100 feet away
Yeah,
from
that-
equipment.
That's, yeah, these guys have to be able to get around
Right.
for their own safety.
Right.
If it's, looks like it's out and they're inside there and something else that they didn't.
Yeah, cause if you got a
Foreseen happens, then where they gonna run to?
So you can get it, that doesn't make any sense.
So Mike, you want to add 100 feet between the fencing and
That-
the actual structure?
Yeah, I think 100 feet, and John may come up with a little more research on that.
So we're gonna come back to that one then, right? Or do you want a motion to sit?
Let's make a motion.
Yeah, that was, well, I don't know if I should make a motion.
Go ahead.
You want me to make it?
Well, I'll make that motion.
Yeah, you can make one.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Did you say a minimum of 100 feet?
Yeah, the suggestion's 100 feet, but John may come up with even further.
So
6.3, setbacks from non-participating landowners.
I think 1,000 is not enough.
How long's the football field?
When you
I'm not
think.
good at like, is it?
Okay, a
do you
quarter
know?
mile is 1,320 feet, I think.
A quarter mile?
And I can, from my house, I can see a quarter mile away.
Oh, yeah.
And I just
Don't
think
miss.
that's not far enough.
Mhm.
So that's 1,000 is like even closer to my house than the
Right.
quarter mile neighbor. And that's too close.
With the solar one, I have in there and my recommendation was 2,000 feet. So my recommendation would be 2,000 for the battery as well.
Yeah.
That's just me though.
That's not even half a mile. When you think about it.
No, it's not. You know, one of to carry on with your thought, I had put 2,500 feet from any residential area that would be classified as subdivision or urban. With a population density of more than 100 people per square mile. So what I'm suggesting there is even further from areas that have high density of population. It'd take longer to evacuate, to get people out. Okay.
That would be a monster to enforce. I think R1, R2, R3 would be easier to enforce without sinking man hours and accounting people in each household and population density. It's gonna be really hard to enforce that.
Well,
Maybe just go further.
we're the enforcement. I mean, now's the time to do it.
So you're saying just stick with the 2,500 feet then and not worry about the population part of it, right? Or
Yeah, again,
even farther.
that was just a thought, is if you have an area with a lot of people and it takes longer to get them out of there,
Yeah.
you know, that was my concern.
Mm-hmm.
And we have seen some of these things catch on fire, not to say any that would come in Stark County would. But I have also heard that they evacuate downwind, out of precaution, which I'll bring up later too, but. Anyway, that's kind of where my thought was going with that, but if you're saying that language is tricky.
R2, R3 are more densely populated. R1 is kind of sparse residential. So if you wanted to say have 1,000 for R1 and then it increases to 1,500 or 2,000 in R2, R3,
Like how
that's
Yeah.
easier because then I'm just following the zoning and I can say, hey, you're R2. You're next to R2, your distances are this far.
But once again, that puts
Yeah.
puts a single
Well,
house
that's-
out there.
Oh, that's discriminatory to someone who's.
I think we should all be the
versus
same.
it should
I do
all be
too.
the-
I like 2,500 like Mike
Yeah.
said.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
My only concern is, are we gonna get to the point where we're making it too hard for them? And they can,
I mean, you say
quarter mile and not
hardly is not
Yeah.
canon, but
No.
you come, our blocks are 1 mile, you're limiting it to not even the 5 acres that they're allowed to have.
Fizz is not here, but 2,500 is approaching the de facto territory. There is nobody that has actually approved a de facto ordinance yet. So with this, we would probably be included in the people who are testing the waters with the new ordinance that went into effect.
what's the furthest you've seen with battery?
5, well, outside of 2,500, that we're about to find out if it holds, if they pass it. The standard is pretty much aligned with Indiana, anywhere from 150 to 250.
I don't know.
Wow, didn't this say something?
No.
Didn't Nathan say something that when you guys were talking about the ban? He said doing the solar ban would be really tough. I thought he said the data center and battery. Not so tough to just do a ban.
Mhm.
I'm going by memory from the last meeting.
I think we stick to it then.
It'd be a lot
And do
easier.
the large setback.
If you choose to put that, then we'll make sure the severity clause is at the bottom, so if that part does get struck, the rest of the ordinance doesn't go with it. But you do run the risk of de facto banning and litigation that goes with that at 2,500 square feet. That would essentially eliminate every plot in the
2,500
county.
feet,
Yes.
just-
2,500.
Yeah.
That's not very far. That's not even,
Half mile.
yeah,
Yeah, that's almost half a mile.
yeah.
In the event that something, of course, this is all, we don't know, but if in the event that something happened to a battery storage unit and the neighbors, got sick or something or whatever from it, who's responsible for the damages?
Well, I think there's a section coming up that,
Okay.
yeah, we can kind of get into that.
All right.
So for the setbacks, I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to do the setback at 2,500 feet.
I'll second it.
2,500 or a half mile? You wanna be specific or? Just do 2,500 even,
2,500 even.
okay. Second from Todd, all those in favor?
This is
Opposed?
2,500 from property lines, non-participating property lines, right?
Property
Not
line, that is
residential
correct.
dwelling.
Yeah.
Correct.
Um. The next part of this, I need to know if you guys are including the fence as in that setback, or does the fence not count as that's included in the setback? So for example, it'd be 2,500 feet to the fence and then an additional 100 feet to the BES. Or is the fence allowed to be anywhere within that 2,500 feet? You know what I'm saying?
I would think the fencing would count, would be in that 2,500.
I would think so.
Not the fence, if we're doing that, I might as well change it to 2,600,
Right,
So-
right.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's why, that's my thought.
Yeah, I agree.
So 2,500 to the equipment.
Right, so I'll put a blurb in the fencing area that says that the fencing is within that 2,500 feet and not in addition to.
And I don't know that we got to this. Any opposed? Okay, motion passed.
And I'm assuming this accounts for the dwelling, the waterway ditches, all that, right? It's a blanket 2,500 from everything.
What do you guys think on the waterway ditch, regulated drain, and potable water wells? Right now it's at
I don't know.
1,000.
I don't know why it should be any different than anything else. I mean, that's my thought. But that's just my thought.
But the maximum permitted area is 5 acres. So what you
No,
said,
that's under the fencing.
That's what.
oh, that's the fencing. Okay.
I don't think the
This
battery
is size and
storage,
area requirement.
yeah, I don't think the battery storage caps at county or township, just because you're not gonna have 5,000 acre battery storage facilities.
Right.
They're not large enough to worry about capping. That's just discussing if it's of more than 5 acres, it needs to have security fence and blah, blah, blah.
Thought it was no more than 5 acres.
That's what I
Very
thought too.
early part of this, yeah.
Well, 6.2 says to
Right
the
there,
max
shall be-
unpermitted area within security fencing.
National permitted area,
For
5 acres
installation.
per installation, so it couldn't be more than 5 acres.
Yeah, it's capping the size of the battery storage facility to
Right.
5 acres.
And that's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
big.
Yeah.
Pretty good size. Okay, so what was the consensus on the waterway ditch and regulated drains? Right now it's at 1,000. Is there a motion to change?
Well, the thing is, if we're changing it 2,500 from every property line, okay, right?
Mhm.
So not all the time, but a lot of time ditches are the property line. Not all the time, but a lot of times they are. They run along the ditch lines. They run a quarter or a half or a full section, depending. So that's kind of a tricky one. I mean, there has to be, I don't know. I'm like for the 2,500, just keep everything standard. I mean, why is that water is just as important as everything else?
Yeah.
I mean, you're the surveyor, Gwen. I mean,
I say we do 2,500 across the board, then that's,
Is that your motion, Todd?
that is my motion, yes.
I'll second.
We got a motion and a second from Gwen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Got a height limitation.
You're skipping the last paragraph, sir.
Okay.
It's kind of important. This allows non-participating landowners to bypass your 2,500 square foot or setback.
Yeah, 6'3".
And again, the setbacks only apply to non-participating. So if they are participating, we currently do not have any setbacks. So
Yeah, we should probably have a setback from a house, even if they are participating.
And the school. Cause you're,
So maybe the whole setback from. How's this worded?
So don't do away though.
I would just, right now, the way you guys voted, I would just combine those three into one giant paragraph.
Yeah.
And putting it 2,500, but again, participating landowners aren't mentioned. And this one allows non-participating landowners to bypass your 2,500 square foot setback.
Which I guess I don't have a problem with. If they wanna live next to it. That's up to them.
Yeah,
What if
that's
that makes it closer to a school?
right.
Well, I think
Or their
that
house.
regulation, right, but
That
this
would
is
still
for
apply.
a participating.
Okay. So then the 2,500 would start on that property line.
Right.
Okay.
That's just my 2 cents. If somebody wants to live next to it, that's their business.
What if a hospital wanted a battery backup?
I think we have
That's
a,
different, right?
yeah, we have a,
It's in the city, we have nothing to do with it.
well, but I think there was a provision that, and I think it's in.
It sets the cap,
Right.
electricity stores,
Right.
stored, if it's above a certain amount, it's considered.
500,
BSS, yeah.
What if it was? What if they needed 1,000 to do their backup? I don't know.
Well, if you
For
come in for a variance, yeah.
On the waiver. And what I'm thinking, non-participating, so you've got somebody on this side of the street. They say, okay, put it close to my house, and then you've got somebody on the other side of the street that says, oh, no, you're not.
Well, that 2,500,
2,500.
2,500 is like that.
So
Yeah.
that, so then the non-participating landowner that. Does the written instrument would not work in that.
Would
case.
only apply if there was no, if there was not one of these other conditions that are in this ordinance.
Yeah, from a technical
Yeah.
standpoint, the only way they could do anything is if they got every parcel around
Yeah.
them to sign that way.
Yeah,
Should we be more specific with that, to that, or?
We can,
clean it up a little bit, maybe.
I would,
the waivers would still come from the plan commission, and it does say may only be granted, so. They could get waivers, but if you guys don't grant them the waiver, then it doesn't matter. It's just piece of paper signed by landowners.
it's not saying that they have to come to the planning commission for.
No,
the
that will,
waiver.
the way it's structured is you have to go to the plan commission and pass the TAC review. After the TAC review, you have to go to the BZA and get your special use, and after the BZA, you have to come to me to get your permit, so. This is where the PC would say, no, your setbacks aren't 2,500, and this is where they'd come and say, well, we have all 4 landowners. Agree that they're fine with us being within 25. And this little blurb allows you to say, okay, cool, or no, 2,500.
So setback waivers may only be granted by the planning commission.
Right, so we
Right.
can do that.
Should we specify that?
But the other piece of that is. If somebody is in a good neighbor agreement or has a property line easement, technically they are now participating. So that's why I'm suggesting there should be a minimum from even a participating landowner to these structures of, let's say, 500 feet. Cause they may come in and offer the neighbors $100,000 to live next to them, and the neighbor might be fine with it. And I don't know that we should really regulate that. If they wanna take the money and live next to it, that's just my personal opinion.
I tend to agree with you.
Mhm.
But I still think that even if you're participating, we need to have the language in there that says. Still need to be 500 feet away.
So with that being said. I'm sure it's not even in this document. But we talked about the land value. St. Joe County was the one that started that. Where they would come in and appraise all the properties first. And then if the appraisal went down when they tried to sell it. They would be responsible.
Mhm.
So. Shouldn't that apply for this as well?
I have that in here.
It is, okay,
Yeah, I added it in.
okay.
Yeah.
I guess maybe I'm thinking ahead.
With that
No.
though, if they request a waiver. I would argue that they should not get that property value protection,
I would
Oh,
agree.
You have a point,
Yeah,
you're
I
right.
agree.
You're absolutely correct.
so.
Because you're taking you're being a big boy.
Right.
And you gotta be responsible for yourself.
Or maybe you accepted some money to be part of that, and that's where that comes in,
Mm-hmm.
And then you're participating.
right?
Mhm.
So when we write something out that says like they may go to neighbors and sign off, the word may, I don't like that word myself, because that's to me, it's another gray word that can mean possibly. Either they can or they can't,
So change
But
the name.
it can be.
So
So you
switched
use
around a
may,
little bit.
May gives the power to the planning commission, shall removes that power. By using may, you're saying situationally, the plan commission can authorize the waiver. But if you remove that, or you replace it with shall, then you remove
No
that
choice.
power from
There's
you
no
guys
choice.
to do that. So may would be the best word to use in this situation because it allows you to look at every situation differently. And you're not restricting everybody, but you're not approving everybody either.
Just, I just, some of them great words like that, I just, or can go two ways on definitions that I try to eliminate.
So I'm gonna make a suggestion here of 500 feet from any participating landowners, from their houses. So 500 feet would be the minimum from somebody participating in it. And that would also include their well.
If you go, are you going from property line or from the house?
From the house itself.
Which would be the closest, which should be the closest corner to the back?
Yeah,
Right,
or they're wild, that's
right.
closer yet.
So if somebody's putting this on their property and they wanna live next to it. I think that's fine, but I still think there should be a little buffer there in case it does catch on fire.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's acceptable. You're still protecting everybody that doesn't want to be in it. They're gonna have their 2,500 feet regardless.
Mm-hmm.
Usually though, when they ask you if they wanted to put it by your property and it's within that, what if they wanted you to sign and give you money, give the homeowner some money, to put their stuff closer. They have to sign a waiver in case there's any inherent problems or.
There wouldn't need to be a waiver if they're participating.
Okay, all right.
And they're volunteer.
Yeah, they're part of it, so.
Yeah, they're part of the.
All right.
deal.
Yeah.
Making money.
Thanks for bringing
Yeah,
it back.
They're getting the money.
So I think the other regulations that we already got in place, that doesn't apply to this. I'm suggesting 500 feet from a participating landowner's house or well.
Mhm.
Need a motion for that?
Sure.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we got a motion from Mark,
I'll second it.
second from Kenny. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
So with that, I'm gonna put whichever is closer. Just so you guys are.
Understood. 6.4.
Okay, I'm already down, I'll move it down to 9. What are you guys at?
6.5 noise limitations. I just wanted to mention, I know that there's a section towards the end about enforcing this to some degree, but when these things are up and operating and the transformers are failing and they're humming, I think there needs to be fines daily. And I think it's towards the end, it might apply to that.
Gonna make them submit results every 6 months during.
Well, what I'm suggesting is in a certain, let's say it's by Mark's house here, and this thing starts to get excessively loud. I think these companies should be fined until it's resolved from the county. I just think that's fair to the people that even live near it.
There's probably something wrong if it is something like that
Exactly,
anyways.
right.
But
I guess I was trying to say it's better to keep a,
how do you keep an eye
Monitor it.
when it is that
like,
loud?
they need to test it, keep an eye on it, so they
Like-
submit the results every 6 months.
I think there was a section in here for monitoring. What I'm focused at is when, I'm using Mark's name here as an example, he comes in to the plan commission office and says, hey, this thing's gotten terribly loud. I can't get anybody to call me. John could go out, say, hey, something's not right here, and we could start enforcing fines to get their attention. Because
I
big
think-
companies are not, nimble like a small company. It takes time.
I think you guys need to split noise limitations between DBA and DVC. The humming that
You're
he talks about all day long is not gonna come up. It's gonna need a seismograph to detect. So I think that needs to be expanded to 50 DBA and 60 DVC, for example. However, that does mean that from the code enforcement side, if I get a complaint about the noise or the vibration noise, I am gonna have to hire an audible engineer with a seismograph to go out there and see whether they're in compliance or
Let's
not.
put the language in there that they'd be at that expense
Yeah.
and expand like you suggested.
Yeah.
But I also think the fines should apply. If you do find that it's not in compliance anymore, we should be able to start fining daily at some point. I just want to have you some teeth in
Yeah,
this.
so the first one would be a stop work order and a notice you have 10 days to fix. The second infraction and every subsequent infraction after that would be an automatic 2,500 per day for every day that it continues.
Okay,
I'm pretty sure that's the state maximum, unless it has to do with life or safety, and then it's an automatic 7,500 off the rip every day per day.
okay, so you think that language is automatically,
No, there should be, again, I didn't pay attention to battery, but there should be a administrative and fines and enforcement
there is
section.
towards the end. I just want to make sure that for noise in particular, that we're covered here and have plenty of language in here. So if we have to enforce that, we can.
Yeah, I think you guys need to add DVC,
Mhm.
and separate the two, because there's definitely a difference between a deep hum that feels like it's vibrating and the noise of a buzzing noise. There's two separate
Right.
types of sound. Should have restrictions on both or limitations on both. And then a way to test those limitations if they're questioned.
We have to keep in mind on all this stuff that what we're doing here is gonna be for the next 10, 20, 30, 40, maybe, who knows how many years, 50 years. So we have to protect the people
Right.
after we're gone and moved on and not on the board, but that's what we're doing, is we're trying to protect this county citizens
So
from
John,
any foreseen problems.
what wording would you add to that? Would you suggest we add?
I would put no noise shall emit noise exceeding 55 dBA or whatever DVC you guys deem necessary. Measure at any point in the boundary non-participating parcel, day or night, as measured by a certified engineer using a seismograph. That way there's no one side's claiming it's too loud, the other side's claiming we're way louder than we should be. There's engineered evidence that this is what the standard is, and either they're meeting it or they're not. So
You'll add that.
that's the way I would do it.
Will you also,
But there is solar people here too, so
so you'll also put
Not
in
bad.
there that if you have to call a seismograph.
yes, I would have to hire an
it'll be
engineer.
At their
Yes, ma'am.
expense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we have to have the battery done right now? Is that the one that we don't have to have done?
No, that is one of the ones,
Okay.
but we can have an additional meeting next week and for 3 days next week. I'm all about meetings.
I'm all about not meetings.
6.6 fencing.
You guys didn't,
We didn't do anything with 6.5 and we need
noise,
to.
do you wanna leave as is
We
or,
didn't vote on that.
yeah, I can't. So I
He
need,
just made some suggestions or this or that to
Thank
guide
you,
us,
add the DVC,
right?
but we need to determine what DVC we need to add.
Mm-hmm.
And you're gonna add some language in there that it's at their expense.
yes,
Okay, so we have a motion for that.
Motion that.
Motion from Crystal,
A second,
second from Kenny. All those in favor? Aye, opposed? Motion
What was
passes.
the DVC that you said?
We're gonna have to figure that out.
Thanks, John.
60 is pretty standard.
Okay,
60 at a property line with a 2,500 setback, you
Looks like
shouldn't hear
60
anything.
DVC, you shouldn't,
No.
okay.
Unless there's a failure happening.
Unless there's a failure, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so 6.6. 6.7. Okay, a couple of things I threw in here. I think there should be a double row of evergreens staggered. And I think the minimum tree height should be 96 inches.
Is that like what solar is? Isn't
Uh,
solar got them staggered and
Yes, solar's double road right now.
it has something else in there too. I think it has a minimum height.
I think there was a minimum height. I think this is a little bit taller, 96 inches.
43. Yeah, this one says minimum of 40 feet. Well, wait a minute.
I think, yeah, there was
4
some,
foot 3 inches. What do you mean? The height of the tree?
Yeah, it says
No,
planting shall
that's 3 feet
include a
high.
double spaced, a couple spaced row alternating purple row. One native evergreen tree, minimum 43 feet in height, isn't that what it says?
Mhm.
Every 20 linear foot. And one native deciduous tree, minimum 6 feet. 1 inch diameter, 6 inches from ground.
that'd be semi-sized trees.
I know, between every evergreen.
But that's,
10 feet
that's in
spacing.
solar, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, maybe it should be the same.
But I'm just making a suggestion of 96 inches at planting. I know some trees that are faring well against pests right now is the blue spruce and the Norway spruce. I know they're not native to this area, but they have been doing well as far as evergreen trees. But I think our buffer there needs to be a little stronger around the fence line. Any thoughts?
I agree.
I
I
agree.
agree.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we got a motion from Terry,
I'll second.
second from Crystal. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And
Opposed?
where's the enforcement part of this?
It's towards the back.
Okay.
It should fall in there.
It should, if I can make a technical recommendation, a performance bond for the landscape buffering. For example, the trees should be living, after 3 years. If there's not, or there's a failure of that landscape buffer, we're not relying on them to go in and fix it. If we need, we can pull on that performance bond and I can contract out to
It's a
get it
warranty
fixed
bond.
ourselves.
Warranty bond, actual.
Warranty bond.
Yeah,
I'll make that motion, John, to move forward with that suggestion.
I'll second it.
Motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 6.9.
Yeah. The Stark County Management Ordinance and Drainage Boards, what's probably gonna go in the Stark County Soil and Water. They're the ones that should be doing this, but I don't know if they are or not. But once again, it still needs to have the IDEM General Construction Stormwater Permit. That still has to be included because that has to be filed, notice of intent, published for 10 days, and it has to be reviewed by, in most counties, it's the Soil and Water Conservation District. I don't know if they do it here. I know like where I work, they do it. Like small counties like us. So if they don't do it, then what here is fine, but
John said,
there's,
you can clean.
there's so much depth out of this technical stuff that's like unbelievable, okay? Like all this stuff, it ought to file, if they file for the general stormwater construction permit, there's all these things. It has to be inspected every week by somebody who is certified in that stormwater, which I happen to be, but I'm not inspecting it. And after every rain event, which is a half an inch or more, and all this has got to be submitted within so many days, and any problems that are there have to be fixed immediately, or else they're in violation of the permit. So I don't know, if maybe we want to look at the general stormwater construction permit from IDEM and mirror, or just mirror that to this, because that's really important. Because this, what is said right here. I mean, if they did this and IDEM found out about it, they would be in violation because they did not apply for the proper permits through IDEM. So we don't have the authority to override IDEM.
I think Gwen's got some thoughts to add to yours.
I do. You ready for, well, this is my area.
Can I just put, reference Glenn's notes?
Yeah,
Oh, I probably got
would
it.
you like to just do that?
If it passes, well, I mean, discuss.
Okay. So, this is all about the regulated drains and water management and all that goes along with this. So just a real quick, because you guys can. So. The applicant shall provide written notice, Stark County Surveyor's Office, identifying regulated drains, watersheds, which they do. So. And this is what I wanted, all drainage reviews shall be conducted in consultation with county surveyor, who shall serve as a primary authority, blah, blah, which that does now, but. So the applicant shall demonstrate that post-construction conditions will not increase peak flow, runoff volume, or velocity, cause erosion, sedimentation, or obstruction. This standard shall apply through and beyond the project area to the next adequate outlet as determined by the county surveyor or drainage board. All drainage modeling shall be based on field verified conditions, including located tile systems where required. So here's where we get regulated drain maintenance pre-construction. This is important, I feel like. Because right now, we already know that we don't have enough. Your office is not functioning, of course, well without funds. Our assessments. We don't have enough money to maintain these regulated ditches, especially when things change and alter the land. So here's what my recommendation is. Regulated drain maintenance pre-construction. Prior to any construction activity, all regulated drains within or affected by the project area may be required to be brought to maintenance specifications such as work may include debrushing, dredging, obstruction removal, and stabilization. All work shall be publicly bid by the drainage board, be awarded by the drainage board, be paid in full by the applicant. The completion of required work shall be a condition precedent to construction. Then, for pre-operation, prior to the project starting up, I can't say long words today, the drainage board may require additional maintenance. So prior to them energizing, work shall be publicly bid, awarded by the drainage board, paid by applicant. And then ongoing drainage maintenance, such as vegetation control, the applicant shall fund vegetation maintenance on regulated drains within or affected by the project. So spraying shall occur once in June, once in August. One spray doesn't kill, so work shall be bid and awarded by the drainage board and paid by the applicant. Then regulated drain crossings. No infrastructure may cross a regulated drain or its right of way without, which they do this now, written approval from the drainage board. All crossings shall meet design standards established by the drainage board surveyor. So tile and subsurface drainage protection, all tiles shall be field verified where required. Any damage shall be repaired at applicant's expense. We've got as-built requirements. As-built plans shall be submitted to the county surveyor. Plans shall clearly identify all borings under regulated drains, because we are missing that right now with some. So this ensures accurate future maintenance and our contractor's safety. So drainage documentation, applicant shall provide pre and post construction video, photo documentation of all regulated drains. And then post storm inspection. And following rainfall events exceeding 1 inch in 24 hours during construction, applicant shall inspect all regulated drains. Any issues shall be reported within 48 hours. Maintenance access, of course, they must leave routes sufficient for the county to get all of their equipment through there. Sediment and erosion responsibility.
What are you considering adequate?
Well, we just went through setbacks on there, but honestly, 75 feet from the fence is pushing their luck sometimes when they have to get in there and get out beaver dams and stuff, because we already have that on the fell ditch. So, yes, ma'am.
Just a little bit curious, because if we're got 25 foot from any regulated ditch.
Oh, that's not enough.
No, 2,500.
2,500.
Yeah, I said
To
25
like
feet.
what, I mean.
Might be redundant as well.
Yeah, that, okay, yeah,
I'm- like,
okay, yeah, I can understand.
And that's why you usually we always have a pre-disturbance meeting, okay?
Mm-hmm,
Where everybody gets together before they do anything. And
okay,
then, even though those would be in the ordinance, those are the things you address.
okay,
So, I mean, that's an important part of it.
okay. So yeah, basically that's what I've got. So about the financial insurance, restoration bonds, drainage escrow funds for emergency repairs, stop work orders, how the enforcement falls and that type of thing. So that's what I've got.
So is that your motion?
Yeah, that's my motion.
Okay, with the exception that the one,
Should be 2,500 feet or whatever.
yeah, so that really doesn't apply.
Okay.
Because
We're
you're-
adding that to section what?
Correct.
Section.
It sounds like it would be a complete replacement of 6.9.
All right, we have a motion from Gwen. And I would just add to that this would of course be under Nathan review before it got added in, for language and such. Motion from Gwen on the table.
I'll second it.
Second from Terry, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion passes. 6.1A. The only thing I noticed down here at permit, again, it's listed construction, which is gonna be clarified. And the renewal fee is 1,000. I think that should be more like, and maybe this isn't legal, 30% of the original permit fee. Or any percentage that the board feels necessary.
found.
Are you suggesting 5,000 instead of 1,000?
Much better choices.
I think it should be whatever the permit was initially.
So,
Yeah, that's why I suggested 30% of the original permit fee, but we could do 50%, we could do 100%, whatever the board.
They have deep pockets.
Any suggestions, John?
No, sir, I have not seen any restrictions or hints that putting a cap on a permit renewal cost has caused any issues. I think it's entirely up to you guys.
Perfect.
put it on.
The fee of the original,
What is it? Is
the
Same
same
fee.
fee as the original permit,
that your motion?
yes.
I'll second it.
Got a motion and a second for the same cost to renew after 1 year as the original fee. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Glenn,
Yes, ma'am.
before you guys go to the next section. In thinking about it, if you're 2,500 feet, just being fair. If we're making them have to be 2,500 feet from a ditch. Do they really still need to be responsible for the maintenance of?
I think that's what Amber was
That
saying.
Far away.
Well, I here's the thing, if it goes to court
Yeah.
and that part gets stricken down 2,500, now the ditches are unprotected. At
Yeah.
least there's a fallback. It might sound redundant,
Okay.
but
Yeah, I was just
Yeah.
thinking about it.
All right, section 7.1.
Oh, wait, I have something. Sorry, I don't know where it should go. It's a property value protection program.
Yeah.
I'll try to make this short and sweet.
which section is this under?
Well,
Adding it.
I'm just adding it. There wasn't really a section for it, so I just threw it in behind section 6.1A. And it's just its own thing, property value protection program. So this is what we were talking about earlier, basically. So you're gonna get a baseline appraisal if you choose. The applicant shall offer at the applicant's sole expense to obtain a fair market appraisal. So if they were to sell it after construction's up, then whatever they lost or losing possibly if their value has went down, that would be made up by the company that is next to them. So that's what the gist of it all is.
St. Joe County already has it, I believe.
Yeah, they're the only ones.
It goes through, yeah, about independent appraisals, third independent appraiser, it goes through all of that, and it goes through a period of 10 years from the date the project becomes operational. So you get like I said, an appraisal, if that's what you choose, before the project starts, or as if the project didn't exist there, and then if you were to sell after the project, you don't lose any money in case you were gonna be in that situation.
Is that your motion?
That's my motion.
Obviously, this is still pending.
Correct, yeah.
Are we discarding people who have agreed to be a participant?
Yes.
Okay.
And I believe without reading every single thing, but we'll make sure that's in
Yeah,
there.
non-participating. Right?
Yeah, this would include non-participating.
Yeah, it says it's for non-participating.
May want to catch
Here,
it.
right here. Yep.
Okay,
I'm gonna put add Gwen's clause, but exempt participating landowners from the protection.
What section are you adding that to?
it'll probably have to be its new
So,
section.
Yeah.
Yeah, if there's nothing that it fits in, I'll add it to the end.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion from Gwen. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Crystal. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Did your hand go up?
Yeah, I just. With all these other restrictions that are in here, that are all kind of meant to address. Potential loss of property value, you're kind of covered with property value. Why do you need all the other setbacks and everything else? See what I mean?
A lot of that was for safety. For
Well,
one thing. And aesthetics,
Well, the safe.
quality of life.
Even if it's 25 feet away from someone's residence, that still could lower their property value.
In the,
Right,
some
but
of
if you
this,
have a provision that's gonna protect that,
Well, just because it's 25 feet away, 2,500 feet away, that doesn't mean that it's protecting my property values.
but you just
Right,
Put
so
a
that's why we want the
proposal in
clause.
to
That's
have
both,
that. So
right.
why do you need to have, because the 2,500 foot is a de facto ban for solar. I don't know about storage.
It's a traumatic event for for the
Yeah.
people that live right there. I
Right.
mean, even,
But I'm just saying, if you're
Right.
covering the property value already.
right, but I'm just saying.
But, so,
like they said,
I guess my thing is if there's no property value loss, according to
Then
the
they don't-
industry, then what's the matter?
Then they won't pay.
I mean, plain and simple.
Well, there's also the situation, like. Okay, so where we live, if something were to come across the road from us, we may not, we've worked hard for what we have, we may not even wanna move, so. Then we have the setbacks to protect us from 25, the 2,500 feet for safety, health. Welfare, wildlife, whatever, all those things, so we may not even be in a situation where we could move.
or they
So,
may come to you and say, we appreciate you being here. We would like to offer you $250,000. And you get to keep your house and stay there, but we're gonna be a little closer than 2,500 feet. And that may be something that some people say, great to,
some people might, yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So I think Nathan can look into some of that and.
Yep, I got it, reference Gwen's notes and participating landowners are not protected by the clause.
Correct.
Perfect. All right, so jumping into 7.1. 7.2. 7.3. 7.4. 7.5.
Stop.
Yeah, I got stuff written there too.
Okay. Mark knows because he's a trustee and I was fire chief for quite a few years. And $50,000 is like, is nothing. It should probably be 10 times that much.
Yeah, for this situation, yeah.
Last time we discussed this, I actually reached out to a couple of fire departments and this is all relatively new. One of the things that they discussed was a reoccurring fee and training almost
Yearly.
annually.
Yeah.
It does say offer and fund annual responder training. That is in here.
Yearly.
Yeah, says annual. Yeah, that is in there,
7.5.
but it doesn't talk about a reoccurring
Fee.
fee.
Well, then
No,
it's all expired too.
Phone does have a life.
So what are you guys thinking, like 100,000 a year?
200,000, that's more.
I mean, realistically,
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too, 200,000.
I mean, I don't even know how much 5 gallons of
That's
double AF
expensive.
foam is now. It's probably
Expensive.
$1,000. I don't even know.
Mhm.
Okay,
Well, it's probably
so
not that much, but
depending on how their company is structured, do we want to offer them a clause where they can pay 20 years up front?
No, it's not good, because of inflation and stuff.
well, there wouldn't be inflation if we have a set fee. Is that what you're saying, Mike?
Well, what I'm suggesting, if they can't structure it in their finances to do 200,000, we could accept, let's say, a much larger number, $3 million or something. Up front.
I would think that would be something like that should be agreed to by the fire
Fire
department.
department, yeah, they're gonna.
Because they're the ones who have to deal with it.
Yeah. 'cause
We
they
can
gotta-
say whatever we want.
Yeah, that's what I said, they gotta have a budget
Right.
if they need it.
Yeah, this is the thing that concerns me about all this right off the bat.
Yeah, I saw that number, that's why though.
So is your suggestion 200,000 per year?
That's my suggestion, yes, I'll
Okay.
make that motion.
Motion from Mark for.
I'll second it.
That was quick. Motion is second. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes.
Back you up to 7.4 for a minute.
Sure.
when you want the 20 feet from a primary, just like nearest road improvement, and this is just about a 2,500 foot setback, should we include that they put a hydrant a little bit closer than a half mile to the, like every 100 feet or
So-
every 200 feet?
So,
I mean, cause if not, you're still a half mile away.
so the way this is, this is not right, okay? Because we're not putting water lines out there. So what this ought to probably say is a dry hydrant in a regulated drain. Is what it should say.
But you may still want a hydrant out there, cause if you catch the field on fire.
Yeah, but where are you gonna get water from?
Yeah. no.
That's why we put dry hydrants in, like, they're for the county.
Set a minimum fire well capable first one.
Well,
They want to.
But I mean,
yeah,
I'm like begging the same thing he just said, where you get them?
Is there a place for them to get water? Because I looked up that stuff
They'd have to.
and it
drop
comes
a
in a
line.
concentrate
well,
foam.
it's,
And you have to mix it with a hell of a lot of water
yeah,
and then.
it applicates in the truck. You got a 2,000 gallon tanker.
That's what he's got, the
Yeah,
tanker.
it's got-
Right.
They roll the
And at the
tanker.
bottom, it can run anywhere from $50 to $100
Yeah.
a gallon and its lifespan is about 3 to 5 years. But 1 gallon does go a long way because you mix it with.
So the reason they put that 20 foot in there is so you can get to it.
But as I'm saying is if you can't even have the project for another half mile down the road, what good is this if you can't get it a little bit close? I mean,
Like from
Well,
a technical standpoint, you should just remove and 20 feet from the nearest improved road.
I mean, you look at a rural fire department, Davis Township, if they go in a fire, a barn fire out by Brims. Closest fire is miles.
I get
You
that,
know.
I didn't understand putting that on
I
there.
think I see what you mean, and if you change that language to say a standard fire
Yeah.
hydrant connection. That would be the exemption, so a fire hydrant well could be an exemption to like a house well or an irrigation well.
Well, I'm just thinking, I mean, at least both access points of it, cause I'm still thinking in my head, 400 to 500 is 1 mile. You're half mile in here, you're half mile in here. You're in the center of a field. A complete half mile from even getting out to a public roadway.
And my only thought for the regular water would be if you catch the whole field on fire and you need to fill up
Mhm.
tanker trucks right away to keep that. Contained.
How about sinking a deep well, a big one like the farms use, And it's a power facility anyway, and they can power their own well. For the
That's
fire
what the
departments,
600 per gallon is.
Yeah,
Huh?
I think we just need to put an exemption in here that a well can be there if it's used for fire suppression
Right.
only.
Right,
See, the thing is. A well like that is not gonna be used for fire suppression for that battery storage itself.
Right.
Cause
No,
they're
it's
not,
gonna fill your-
it's gonna be, it's gonna be
mix
for
this
the
up.
outline, the field that's on fire or whatever else.
Ditch protect-
It's not gonna, you're not gonna fight that battery fired with 100,000 gallons of water.
No.
You're
No,
gonna
you're
create the
gonna use
most
foam.
nightmare you've ever seen in your life.
Well, fun.
And it's not in a field of grass either, the way I've seen there, like a lot of gravel, so that, you have gravel put down, so it's not like something's gonna burn. Grass fire is gonna burn up to it. I think that's how it's on. That's the
Yeah.
ones I've been to.
That's.
I mean, that's kind of a tough one, the way it's written. I don't know what the. I like the firewall thing of it, but. The hydrant thing is like. That doesn't like,
Well, maybe we need to do some research on that. And
it
find out.
doesn't narrow it down to anything. I don't think. I mean, I don't know.
Well, this will be my suggestion, then maybe John can do some research and email the board. Maybe what you find other. Have set up with, for potential runaway fires. On the 7.5. I kind of brought this up before, the relocation plan. I feel like we need a relocation plan, before they can even get a permit for. Folks that are downwind, what's their plan to pay for that? Are they gonna pay for expenses? Is there a fund, like an escrow that could be put in for such a thing? But if we gotta relocate 75 people and,
Where are we gonna put them?
where are we gonna put them and where's those expenses gonna come from? So I don't know, John, if you can fish into that a little bit.
7.5.
Not only people, but their pets.
Yeah, it's a big expense.
Clean up, yeah, what if you have all that stuff on your
on your house.
Yeah,
Right,
And then who's gonna clean the house?
or your food, like
What
if
are
you have a
you gonna
garden,
do?
you're not gonna wanna eat any of that afterwards, like
Right.
they've killed all your crop, like. Yeah,
The
Got
only
it.
thing I would.
I'm looking into-
Homeowners insurance.
Well, that, I was thinking that.
but it would,
Yeah.
it shouldn't be
It
at the
shouldn't
cost of the
be.
homeowners.
But then you-
Are they gonna?
then your
do
premium's
natural
gonna go
disaster
higher.
Caused it, like.
you still got a deductible.
No, I just,
Yeah.
like the battery, that it wasn't the battery thing's fault, it was.
No, I know all about this. I got in a wreck last Wednesday. So I could tell you all about deductibles and doctors and everything else.
Alright, so I guess my motion would be that John try to come up with some language between him and Nathan that could protect folks in the event of.
Like a more robust disaster response plan.
Yeah,
They shouldn't have to use their homeowners.
right.
Right.
7.6. We're moving on to section 8.
Section 8, the whole thing is a complete disaster as far as I'm concerned. I'm gonna stand by what I've said for the last 4 or 5 years. Why is the county involved in decommissioning of private property? Why? There is no, I have never been on a project ever where any type of bond or any type of anything, it always follows the property owner. Why should the residents of Stark County be responsible for that? They should not. If there's 20 parcels of land, there should be 20 bonds. They're the ones that signed up to do this. And it's up to them.
Knowing that they have.
They should just be recorded,
The home.
but
Right.
we shouldn't be Big Brother watching, taking on this gigantic, enormous thing. I wonder what's going on in Jasper County now. I don't know, it's not decommissioned, but there's $140 million worth of damage over there, and it's all over everywhere. I know this does not agree with that, what I said, and I mean, I don't care if he agrees or disagrees. I'm just looking at it from a common sense. You'd be like, okay, we're gonna build a muffler factory right in this field, but you know what? It might not fail, so we're gonna want them to post a bond with the county so they can tear it down if we leave. That's the dumbest thing I ever heard. There's absolutely no difference in my mind.
I
There's
think
no
Nathan
difference.
just said to put the county as secondary on it.
That's what this one does say secondary. But I don't know if the other one said secondary, and we still end up, we should not be involved in it at all. It's not our
I think
business.
the part of it from my side is if the property owner fails to decommission that site, then either we deal with it being there and the complaints that are associated with that, or we have a bond to draw on to remove it ourselves in the event the property owner doesn't.
So in response to
Yeah.
that, it's no different than an unsafe building. If they don't deal with it, what happens? They don't have a bond on that unsafe building.
No,
I think
I
it's
would-
always
It
running back very
it looks
easily.
like a whole layer of chaos.
but if I condemn a building and I hire a contractor to tear it down, you're talking 15 to 20 grand. Decommissioning a solar field or battery storage is gonna cost hundreds.
Exactly.
Right,
But
and-
what I'm saying is, the agreement needs to be with that property owner. It should be recorded up here. And the property owner should make the same agreement as this.
But I think
In
they are,
35
right?
years, they don't
No.
renew the bond or do anything, then that's their problem.
Well, right,
not
but they're
the
gonna
county's
walk
problem.
away.
Pardon me?
What if the property owner walks
If they
away?
walk away and that bond is still good, if that bond is still there.
But if they
nobody
make the
pulled that
bond with the county's not walking away. And
Yeah,
that's-
I can't pull a bond to them. They can pull that bond. So if they walk away from the property, I have no enforcement measure to clean that property up.
Well, that needs to be very, very well laid out because the
I
way
get-
it is now, it's not like that. at all.
Unsafe building it and go that route, but then the county is 100% footing the $500,000
Right.
bill.
Exactly.
And then you've got batteries laying there leaking or,
Yeah, that was the condition.
yeah.
Right.
So-
I just don't agree with it. I
So
mean,
just do it like the solar so that it's got both.
I guess I lean towards Nathan's advice on
I do
this.
too.
I get where Todd's coming from, but
I'm never gonna back down from it. Cause I just don't think it is, I don't think it's right.
But I
And
think
that's
it's like
okay.
a backup, like we have, like, if
right,
they don't, we're gonna have, somebody has to.
yeah.
But at least we have the money to do it.
Yeah, but somebody puts a roof on your house and let's just say the roof fails, the county's not your backup to save their ass.
But that's a 15,000.
It doesn't, it's all relative. It's all relative. It's all
Well,
relative.
not to the neighbors, though.
That's why we have 2,500 foot setbacks.
You know, if you've got these things and they failed and everybody's walked away from it and they're leaking. And we have no decommissioning money to go back to clean it up. It's gonna be a big debacle.
That's not, I'm not saying there's not gonna be, it's gonna be with the property owner.
Right, but
not
they've
with the county.
disappeared. You know, they've skipped town.
Well, it says in here that the bond follows the property.
So, but who gets it after the landowner has walked away? The county absorbs it.
Whoever, if the county absorbs it, then we absorb the bond. I agree with that, but it's making us as the first line of defense. I mean, doesn't make any sense. You do a highway project, $5 million, okay? Who posts the bond? Not the county, the contractor does. But it's their property, the county's property, and they're named. Not all the property owners around or some third party somewhere else. They're the owners. They are the ones that are in charge of that bond.
Maybe if the county had to pay for that cleanup or something, and the party that was raking in all the cash from all them years of money
Yeah,
that
but
they
that money's
didn't
gonna be
pay,
gone. You can't rely on that. That money's gonna be gone.
then the county would absorb the property.
I mean, I'm just putting my 2
I mean,
cents.
take it over.
Whatever you guys do, I'm gonna drop it now. I've said my piece. And I'm done talking about it.
Was that a motion?
What, did I shut up?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Are you concerned about the county paying for the cost of the bond?
No.
Just the
The
bond.
cost of the bond would be paid by the company. It's not about the cost of the bond. It's the idea that we're responsible. The county is responsible. I just don't like that. I mean,
You throw the county
But
out
we have to
there
protect
instead
ourselves.
of the
Yeah.
homeowner, like you said.
that's just my 2 thoughts.
But as long as
Doesn't have any
the
responsibility, the
Yeah.
county does.
As long as the developer is paying for that
Yeah.
bond and the county's out no money,
Right.
okay.
But then if we're listed as the sole person on that bond, then it's our responsibility,
Yeah,
which is wrong.
And hopefully
Okay,
there's enough
I don't have
money
a
to
motion.
pay for the
Okay.
county.
come on.
Okay, so 8.2, scope of decommissioning. The only thing I saw in here was components, we have 3 feet, I think we should go 96 inches or 8 feet.
For which one? Oh,
For the depth,
final grade.
I agree. Is that a motion?
Well, right now it's a suggestion, see what the board thinks.
I think
How
it's a good
much did you say?
I just
8
put 8
feet.
feet.
what about that?
Including
What about what-
contaminated soil.
What do you do in a case like the substation next to me? I know them things.
Deeper
are-
than 8 feet.
Oh, hell yeah, they're down 30 feet and they are just thousands of concrete trucks filled in voids to put them pylons down. I mean, that is not, that would have to just be condemned property.
To be fair, after 8 feet, it's not gonna make any significant difference to any land use after that
Not
anyway.
really.
Right.
You already went 8 feet down, that's the other
You could build a foundation.
18
off.
feet is so far deep that, yeah.
You'd have to de-water after like, well, yeah, about
So, yeah, that'll be my motion. We should increase that from 3 feet to 8 feet,
I'll second that motion.
including any contaminated soil.
I'll second that motion.
Motion in a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I voted for it there. Yeah.
Come on.
Okay, 8.3.
well, can I add one
Sure.
other thing in there? And if it's
I don't have
something,
8.3.
if it's something that is,
We're back to something the flashing.
that exceeds 8 feet or anything that could do it, I'm gonna just use the substation again. The county should condemn the property.
Well, I think what John is saying is anything
Uh,
over 8 feet deep kind of becomes irrelevant.
Yeah.
Right,
Cause you could build over that.
oh,
That's what he's saying. Yeah.
Like a base.
Yeah.
But your basement would still be, the ceiling height on a basement is 6 feet 8 inches. So you add 4 inches for a slab in the bottom of that, you're still below 8 feet.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So they would have to do some incredibly deep.
And that would be a huge
Footing.
construction project to go below 8.
Yeah. That would be bunker level.
Yeah.
We just poured concrete.
Yeah.
I think the Iranians know something about those right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so 8.3. 8.4,
Already said my piece.
8.5. So 8.6 comes the penalties.
Not enough.
Yeah, I scratched out 1,000 and put 5,000 on it, but you said that may be
8.5,
8.6.
uh,
Out for the decommission.
Penalties.
I
for
can't.
And that's even after a 60-day waiting period.
Wow,
too far.
why are we waiting 60 days?
So I have it, you get 8.6. You get the notice, the first notice is free, you have 10 days, to fix, right? And that's in line with everybody else, so I was just being fair across the board. Every failure after that for the same offense is an automatic hit with a fine, but it's 2,500 per day for every occurrence. There is no maximum, it's just 2,500 per day. And then if it involves immediate life or danger or health, then it's 7,500 per day. Those are the state max. But I kept the first infraction notice as a stop work order and no fine.
So you're saying
See that?
to increase it from 1,000 is,
Looking at it.
Just based on what you guys were discussing, $1,000 is a joke to $180 million project.
So the way this is reading, it reads there's no 1,000 fine until after 60 days. Is that the way you read it?
that's how I
Yes.
read it.
Yeah.
Where were the higher fines that you were talking about? I'm not seeing.
Say again, that's not on here, ma'am. I'm referring to the changes that are in the solar.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Battery again.
Why should it be any different?
Say again,
Why should it be any different?
it shouldn't, any ordinance that I write for any use, industrial or otherwise, is gonna start out the same way for large projects like this. So if you want it other than the default, which is you get the free D for 10 days to fix, or you start incurring fines. And then second and third offense is 2,500 per day. And then I have the fourth offense that the developer or the owner will go before the BZA with the possibility of revoking the permit or decommissioning the site.
So do we want to increase that then?
Yeah,
5,000? Or mimic the solar?
I think we should. I mean, let's keep it all the same for these, right?
Mimic solar?
What happened to my thing?
2,500.
Oh, it's 2,500 for solar?
25, well, the state stops you at 2,500 per.
Oh, so that's our max.
Yeah, okay, so
Okay, so 2,500.
2,500.
You want a motion from that, Mike?
Sure,
I'll make
Mark,
that motion for 2,500 per day match solar.
I'll second that, Mark.
Okay, thank you.
All those in favor?
Hi.
We're on a roll.
But they don't
Keep
start
moving.
accruing a fine until 60 days.
No,
No,
yeah, I'll need,
Striking that.
if you want that changed, I'll need that changed.
Does that give you enough time to get all your ducks in a row to make sure the paperwork and everything is? If we make this too short, you're gonna have enough time to get all that,
For like the 10 days?
yeah,
So if there's an issue where half of their plants are dead on one wall, 10 days might be extreme, but again, now you're moving into my territory where I have the leniency to play with them as far as code enforcement, and you know what I'm saying? So if they got half of 1,000 acres with dead trees, I can give them a timeline, and as long as it's reasonable for both parties, I can withhold enforcement. And then if they don't meet that, then I'll start hitting them with the.
so did you want to change this to less?
So the civil fine of 2,500 per day for each calendar day, the project remains in violation beyond the 60-day cure period. You want? Is that 60 days too much? We wanna,
I think it's a little bit high, I just want to make sure we give John enough time
right,
to,
so would you say 30 day?
I think 30 days too high. I think anything major that happens, they're probably gonna
Right.
fix it before I even get to them.
Right.
Okay,
With the exception of minor landscaping issues or holes in fencing, I think 10 days is plenty.
okay. So you want to change that to 10 days cure period?
Sounds reasonable.
Okay, I'll make that motion. Change it to
Motion.
10 day.
Motion from Terry,
A second.
second from Kenny, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. 8.7,
Once again, the last bullet point, I'm not gonna say anything.
okay, do we want to go into section 9?
Yeah, because it's a disaster. I mean,
get it done.
ultimately,
Tell us how you really feel.
no, I'll tell you, because the stuff that's in here is impossible, okay? First of all, I don't even know where to start. Do we want to speed it all night? I'll try to speed this up. So I have done phaser ratings in lots of counties across the state, okay? And they go from a 0 to a 9. So our last road agreement was terrible because it was written that whatever the phaser rating was before, we were to bring it up 2 points over what it was. Okay, so if you got a road that's a mile long and it's a 4, okay, so it's got 50 holes in it. So now it's a 2 and it's got 100 holes in it. So you're gonna take it to a 6, it's a road that only has 25 holes. It can't be done. So that whole thing needs to be changed. See, like here it says, must be milled and repaved. Milled and repaved with what? It doesn't say anything. So, I mean,
Can you make your suggestions?
I need to write it out in an email and send all this stuff. I didn't have time today because I've been dealing with some other crap. But when you just say in here, a 4 or lower must be milled and repaved. Milled how deep? Repaved with what? I mean, before you do anything like that, that road needs to be cored. If you've got 2 inches of asphalt there, you can't mill it. You need to do like FDR, which is the full depth reclamation, which Cass County is doing. They're putting stone down, they're going over, they're putting cement and lime with it, stabilizing the road. So this whole thing really needs to be cleaned up to mean something.
Every section.
And yeah, I mean, you need to put in there the NDOT specs, the spec numbers that apply to paving. Which is like 401. I mean, there's so much here that has to be. This right here is, this whole thing, this right here is worthless. I mean, completely.
How about I make a suggestion, that John works with our highway department, Rachel, to revise this, and then it's done within the county.
She'll just call me.
And that's fine, but at least he's going through the proper channel
Yeah.
of the county resources.
Yeah, because this is not the way it should be.
So I'll make that motion that John work with Rachel out at the highway department to revise,
I'll call
section 9.
it. Yeah,
Ultimately, it would be her that approves of the RUA anyway,
Right.
so
I think it'd be
it
good.
allows me to get her standards.
Yeah.
And then, so she essentially is gonna write section 9.
yeah, because if it's anything like this, I wouldn't go for any of the ordinance, because this is right here is gonna cost taxpayers a lot of money. All right,
Okay, so that was my motion.
I second it.
Second from Todd, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
See, it could have taken a lot longer.
Okay, section 10.
A minimum of 2 million per
I
occurrence.
don't sound
What
like
do they
anything.
mean by occurrence?
And then it's got,
Occurrence would be the tornado that hit the solar farm.
That's not very much.
That would all be one occurrence.
that's a whole different scope, but that's about 140 million for that.
That's not very much money.
I don't think it is either. Have that much on my car.
Just, I mean,
Lithium ion fire happens in one of the buildings.
Yeah,
That's.
But
an
I'm saying I have
occurrence.
$2 million on my personal
If
vehicle.
it jumps and catches another building on fire, that's still the same occurrence.
that,
Yeah.
to me, these limits are like the fair, like a small business would start off with.
So we want to increase that to 100 million per occurrence. And maybe 250 million for.
You can't,
Bless you.
well, I just said what the damages were.
There's $140 million over there.
But that's so.
But that is solely, that's different,
Hundreds of
that's
acres,
different,
so-
yeah, that's different, and that's once in a lifetime probably, but that's all it takes. Is once in a
Yeah,
lifetime.
tornadoes probably bags, I shouldn't have used that, that is a worst case scenario.
is.
Your average occurrence is, not gonna touch anywhere near the cost that was.
No, it won't, I agree.
Well, with the event that this really wouldn't cover their equipment. But if this fire got out of hand and burnt down 15 houses, not to say that would happen because we got huge setbacks.
Or the smoke.
Right, I mean, that could
That's
get
a
well
lot.
over 2 million.
And those people should not have to rely on their homeowners insurance
There's,
to take
there's,
care of
it
it.
should be at least 20 million and 50 million. I mean, like I said, I've got $2 million on my car.
Well, Chris didn't come out of his chair for that suggestion like he did from
I
us.
just don't know how,
I mean,
how defined it, I've not seen anything.
after you get past a couple million, a couple more
I just
million,
don't
but
know
not
how
cost
that
that
would-
much.
Be done.
And they could always come with a variance and say, our insurance company won't even let us go that high, and then it could go to the BZA for.
But again, that gets to, is it
And
a de facto
and
ban?
on the same end, they might say, well, we're not gonna insure you unless you do it for more than that.
Mhm.
I mean, it could be either way.
That's just, to me, that's very minimal for a small company.
That is minimal.
Yeah.
Like, that's my car.
So we have.
And we're talking today's money, sounds like that sounds like a whole lot, man.
It's not.
But I brought this up before. In 1970, if a person had $350,000 in their bank account, it's equivalent to 4.25 million today.
So that.
So we're talking
I had
today's
dollars back.
money, and it
So I got
sounds
$5.
astronomical, but in 20, 30 years. Unless you set a certain payment down and every year. That it would increase 10% or whatever in cost of inflation. You could set it at a lower rate, but. It's today's money, but we have to take into account for inflation for cost of living and everything as the years go on for the next generations.
The other thought to that too, Terry, is, here I'm thinking, property damages and stuff. What if 5,000 people inhaled toxic smoke and now we're talking,
Civil for, yeah.
I mean, that's getting really messy then.
But another,
Yeah, that's way beyond
another
that.
thing that you need to consider is just being a small business owner and the insurance we have to have. Pollution insurance. That needs to be included. It does say environmental. Does that include, and there is such a thing as pollution insurance?
I can add whatever you want, this is 100% gonna be a viz thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll have to check some of
yeah.
those.
I mean,
One-
this is
one
what we
grade,
have
what's it
to
called?
smell. It's in there.
I will just, I'll put, if you guys are on consensus, I'll put a relook 10.1, well, section 10, because it's all insurance in 10, right? So relook section 10 and make sure it aligns with
Reality.
I can find some like industry standard stuff that's gonna say, this is how it's handled in every other situation, which
Yeah, it's probably all out there. I mean,
it's gotta be, I mean.
Right.
and I mean, the difference between 1 million and 10 million is probably very minimal. It's that first initial payout for. There.
I'm looking at the other insurances. They do have workman's comp, they've got liability. They mention environmental, but I would definitely consider
I
pollution.
think workman's comp is waived.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
So
it's section 10.4, so that's mentioned.
I will mention to the board, we are a full board tonight, so any one or two of us can even leave and go to the bathroom at the same time. It doesn't break up our
Thank you.
quorum.
we can take 10 minutes.
If we're gonna take a break, I'd rather wait.
I go to the bathroom again, I'm not going back.
Hold out till battery's done.
Yeah, but if you need to use the restroom, we have a full board here, so we won't have to stop the meeting. So are we good on 10 altogether then?
So what do we decide to do about the general liability?
I'm gonna have Viz just relook that entire section, make sure it aligns with industry standards.
Right.
And
Okay.
the coverage amounts would cover realistic.
All right, section 11, enforcement penalties. Again, I thought the numbers were kind of low. I penciled in some things, like on 11.3. I thought 500 a day was pretty low. 1,000 for third violations. Pretty low. My penciled in number was 1,000 and 5,000. And then in 11.4, I also bumped that up to 5,000. Thoughts?
What
Or
did
maybe
we-
we can't go above 2,500 on these.
Right, this one I would just mirror off of
Yeah.
what you guys discussed earlier. The first violation will be cut back to 10 days. The only thing I would add is the clause that if you hit a fourth violation, you will go before the BZA.
Okay.
So
And
a
lose
hearing
your-
can be held on whether or not your permit should stay active or the site in general should stay active.
Good. Won't fit your site.
Okay, 11.6. 11.7. 11.8. And John, do we need to go further? This is more boilerplate stuff,
Yeah, I think section 12, we're already checking the changes we need to make to definitions.
right?
The appendixes, I suggest that I go to the highway department and ask them for a template for their road use agreement. The decommissioning plan, we'll build the template for, the emergency management plan and the evacuation plan. I need to get with EMA, and I think EMA should be the driver of that. So all the appendixes, I'll figure out who the onus of that
I
is.
think the Stark County Volunteer Firefighters Association should be the driver of it.
Both of them in
Got
conjunction.
the EMA.
But
It is-
EMA
it'd be
deals
fire.
more with mass evacuations,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So they would definitely be a part of it, but local fire chiefs should be a part of that as well. So I'm gonna have, the appendixes need to go to the department that owns that area. It doesn't seem right for me or us or you guys to build a template that doesn't make sense to them.
Can I back up to definitions? Are you adding construction?
Yes, ma'am, that was
Okay,
addressed
thank you.
at the very beginning.
A lot of pages.
So. I don't think there's anything really left for us to cover. On that, the rest of it's more or less information and definition.
Oh, I got 76% battery left.
Well, then that's got it.
I'll make a motion that we end with the battery discussion and take a 5-minute recess. Or you guys want to go right into solar?
If you go right in, I'm going home.
5 minutes. No, 5 minutes.
5 minutes?
5 minutes.
Okay, so at 10 till, reconvene. Dale, can you hit the switch?
No.
Yeah. Yeah, that one.
And we have a forum again, so I think we can get started. So we're gonna be discussing, now we've already spent quite a bit of time on this, hopefully this goes by, relatively quick since we've already put work into it. I'm going to, go through this by section and not call out every detail, so section 1, section 2, section 3, and so forth, so speak up if you have some information on, let's say, for an example, section 1. We'll dive into that and then move into a broader picture of section 2. So section 1, pretty basic, section 2. Section 3. And as I say these, there's a lot of language in here that Nathan's already cleaned up and it's, I think everybody got a copy of that. So with that discussion, I'm presuming that everybody's good with the language that Nathan cleaned up.
Section 3, I just want to point out, the same adjustments for the battery.
Yeah.
I will do,
For the setbacks.
yeah,
Yeah. I just
well,
want
no,
setback back.
I'm boring.
just for section 3, construction will relate to physical improvement, not preliminary site plan.
Understood. Section 4.
That's where I just wanna add the same thing that we just passed with the battery storage one, and it talks about the dividing the property and contingent parcels and all of that.
Same language.
Correct,
Yeah.
exactly. I don't wanna read it all, but I
Yep.
will.
Nope. Do you have a motion?
Yes, I would like to make a motion that the addition of 4.x is gets added in with Nathan's approval.
Yep.
I'll second that. All those in favor?
I,
Opposed? Motion passes. Anybody else on section 4?
I have a question.
Yes,
If
sir.
it's limited to 100 acres and you have a 2,500 foot setback, I'm not sure that happens. Unless you're raging, so I have to look it up.
Well, doesn't the,
well, if you're participating landowners, it changes it.
But way I don't know, the language I think then just added means you can't. I'm not sure how that all would work.
So what she's saying is it prevents a solar company from buying 100 parcels and calling it project A and then buying the neighbor's 100 and calling it project B
Right.
and treating them as two separate projects.
Correct.
They will be considered the same project for the purposes of the ordinance.
So one project will be 100.
Right.
yeah,
Right. Is that how that?
Shall not exceed 100
Yeah,
acres.
so she
Correct.
just closed a possible loophole where you can buy multiple 100-acre parcels. And they're theoretically all the same project, but we call them different names.
And I'm just saying, if you have a 100 acre square. And you have a 2,500 foot setback, you've got that much money or that much place to build something. So maybe, you know, it's kind of. Go back to that. Oops.
Are we leaving that language for now? Until maybe Nathan says otherwise, as far as what Chris just brought up.
The
I think
language
he's going to
you
say
brought up.
otherwise.
Yeah, the language
Yeah.
I brought up. We haven't really got to the setback part yet.
Right,
So yeah, the language that I just brought up, I'd like to.
okay. So section 5.
Are we gonna go with the same issue with the technical advisory committee as we did with the battery?
Yeah, we probably.
Word it so that if we don't have a technical advisory committee,
Right.
then it reverts to the planning commission.
We should get that.
And Todd added that one is any state and federal permits prior to permit from the county. Is that where that would go as well?
Yes, ma'am. There should be one that says, permitting requirements. No, yeah, permit application require materials, that's where that would go.
Okay, thank you.
Anything on the fees, 5.9? Okay, section 6.
Real quick, at the end of section 5, I just want to make sure you guys are aware, you have separate permit renewal costs now. You have a flat rate for battery, and then you guys said 10% for solar last time. So do you want to keep it separated, or do you want to go flat rate for solar, or?
You're talking about for the renewal?
Mhm. We had, for the battery, we said it would be the same.
Right.
As the first permit, so should we do the same thing for the renewal
think so.
of the battery or the solar?
So Crystal's, I got a motion to charge the same. You have a second?
I'll second that.
Second from Gwen, all those in favor?
I,
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, section 6 here. And this is where we get into the setbacks and maybe where that confusion Chris is bringing up. Now, on this version, one side adjacent from a non-participating landowner is still set at 500. Two adjacent sides is 750, 3 adjacent sides is 1,000.
Also in this, unlike battery, this one specifically says the setbacks are not waiverable. So the other one said that non-participating can agree, and then you guys may give them a waiver. This one specifically prohibits waivers for setbacks.
understood.
But again, this could play into a participating landowner doesn't necessarily have to have panels on their property.
No, it would just without specifying in here, I would follow the agricultural setbacks for any other building on a property, so 5 feet.
That's your.
Yeah, so it would be 5 feet from a participating because that's the default zoning ordinance.
Right. So for an example, if there's a big development potentially coming into place and there's a 5-acre lot and they've offered to pay that person to be a participating, they would go down to 5 feet. Is what you're
Yes,
saying.
unless you specify otherwise in this.
Right. And I, again, still agree with if somebody wants to participate in it, even though they're not getting panels,
They're saying they're not.
That's their
they're
fault.
participating.
And they can have a different agreement with
500 feet.
who they're
That needs to be
Yeah.
more.
doing things with.
I thought it
So,
was.
Within reason, if they agree that the setback will be on the property line, I'm still gonna decline the permit. They.
right. I'm saying if they want more, if the property
Right,
owner wants more, they can go more.
Mhm.
Are we on 6.2, the setbacks?
Yes.
So I just think the minimum setback of 500 feet from a non-participating landowner is not enough. That's 1/8 of a mile.
I think our attorney's suggestion was to get extreme with it is not gonna hold up
Okay.
on this particular matter. But I'll take any motion. It's on the table here.
I would make a motion that it's 2,000 feet.
I'll second.
I got a motion and a second from Todd. All those in favor?
Aye.
What's that, is this 6?
6.2.
Yeah.
Can I say something first?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I don't, like, I think what Nathan's saying though, is if we do this. If we do a dramatic one like this, we are pretty much doing the de facto ban and
That's
that's.
not, no, I
That's
don't
not
agree with that,
necessary.
because they can participate in it, then it's a whole different thing. This is just protect the people who don't wanna be in it. If you wanna be in it, I don't care if it's 5 feet from your property line.
That's a
I mean,
good,
really,
that's
I
a
don't
good
care.
point,
Mm-hmm.
but it has, so
That means the
you
company.
have to give someone the reasonable opportunity to use the land. If we're doing this, you're denying the property owners who want solar or the developers who want solar from ever using that land for solar, even though this ordinance is allowing you to use solar. So
I see what, I understand what you're saying.
James's point, if this gets shot down and someone comes in the very next day and they want to build solar, their setback is
Well,
gonna
then-
be 75 feet from the road and 5 feet from the neighbor.
Well, then I think if it's all gonna get shot down, why don't we just pass a motion to ban solar and batteries totally and let it fall? What's the difference? We're wasting all this time. Well, I mean, what's the point?
We tried that.
It may not get shot down, but it is a
See,
game.
they're
If
there.
we're
No,
willing
it may
to
not.
take, if you guys are willing to take the risk, it's your risk to take. You guys are the lawmakers, but.
All I can tell you is I've talked to a whole lot of people in the last, we'll say, week. And there was not one person that I talked to that is favorable to any of this.
Well, and I'm not saying I'm favorable,
No, I
I'm
know.
saying I don't wanna get a de facto ban,
No, I
and if
know.
something happened
I know.
where it.
But what the problem is, I'm not picking on you, Chris, but companies will come to predatory. They're gonna come to the weak places like us, where they know we don't have a lot of money. They bring 7, 8, 9 lawyers in here like they did
Yep.
and threaten us, and we sit there and go, okay, we lay down, we're dead. I'm not gonna be part of that.
Okay, so what was your motion, Gwen?
Mine was a minimum setback of 2,000 feet.
For
We're not-
non-participating.
Yes, that's correct.
And I
And that's
second it.
regardless of
And-
adjacency, it's 2,000 flat.
Correct.
Okay, and we had a second from Todd. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'm gonna do roll call on this. Mark's not here. Gwen,
Yes.
Todd,
Yes.
Kenny,
Yep.
Crystal,
Yes.
Dale,
Yes.
Therese,
Yes.
and I'm no. So I guess we're set at 2,000 feet, motion passes.
Which one are we
No,
on
sir.
now?
A, B, and C essentially.
This thing is so screwed up.
And then I'm assuming you're gonna wanna address D. It was mentioned, and it was. Generally agreed upon by the board that setback limits could be reduced if a berm. At 10 feet, I guess he put 10 feet, but a berm could reduce the setback. Because you can't see the solar farm, cause the hill is higher than the farm itself. So he did add that, it is D. With these setbacks, I don't know if you wanna keep that, that'll reduce it to 1,000 feet. For non-participating.
What is the will of the board here? Keep that language or?
I'm trying to. I really hate this thing, you know that? If they're not printing it out next time, I'm not coming.
Alright, we will print out our,
You could try this one for the old guy, you can't already see it. What number are we on?
you're on
6.2.
6.2
I was
delta.
Yeah, we're on D.
It keeps like,
Page 10.
it keeps disappearing.
Personally, I'm good with that language
I am
being.
too.
Yeah, I think that's,
Yeah.
I think it's
So
reasonable.
that gets it down to the 1,000
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
for all of the one side, two side, and three side.
Right.
Okay,
Well, that language all really comes out anyway now.
right,
It's just 2,000 feet.
okay.
Mark had to leave.
Oh, did he?
Yeah,
Oh, wow, he was standing out there on us, earlier, but.
he just texted me and told me.
Okay, anything else in 6?
To clarify, for the
Yeah, we
additional
did.
required setbacks,
Right.
2,000 everywhere, everything.
Roads.
Roads, drainage, cause it separates it by what it is, public road, drains, potable water wells, floodplains. 6.2, it's right after delta. Says additional required setback.
Alright.
So what is this, I'm sorry if on this note, what is the setback for a participating party?
That would be the default of the zoning ordinance, which is. It's gonna be treated as an accessory structure, so it'll be 5 feet.
So if. And going back to like we did on the battery, if solar pays me and I now waive. And I now become a participating party. Then I'm taken out of the property
Mhm.
protection, correct?
Yes.
Well, and then, you know, and going back to the 6.2, that allows
But it said.
non-participating landowners to go ahead and participate if they.
It just says half, doesn't it?
Okay, so then that'd be good.
Are protected.
So in the event a solar project convinces participating landowners all around to participate, this is the setbacks that I'm gonna use from drainage, public roads, potable water, and things like that. So if you guys wanna change those, now's that time.
I don't know what's really different than the other one.
Yeah,
Shouldn't there be consistency? I mean.
I would agree.
What do they do if it's like across the highway? Like, is that adjacent, that's still adjacent, like, or across from, so that still counts?
Yeah, 'cause I think the count was 2,000 feet from the corner closest.
Okay,
Mhm.
That's 2,000.
Chris is speechless.
No, I'm just saying, if you add all that together, you just.
Yeah.
You cannot build commercial.
So, but,
facility.
so answer this, Chris, so. On a participating property owner now,
Right.
how close are the solar the panels to
The
their
panels
property?
themselves, on Mammoth North, they're 150 feet.
See, so right there, we're saying they could be 5 feet. So right there's another 145 feet you just gained off of that. I don't know why you do 150 feet. I don't know if that's what the ordinance was ever stated,
Or maybe that's what they agreed.
or maybe that's
Yeah.
what we just read.
You need to get between
No,
the
that's
fence and the panels,
Yeah.
there's stuff like.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
So participating isn't necessarily the issue. What becomes the issue is if you have participating.
No, I know, they're not participating.
And even the guy across the street's participating, it doesn't matter because that road
Right.
just through that setback,
Right.
2,000
No
feet
matter what.
away.
Right, I know that.
So now if the county has 1 mile intersections everywhere
Right,
and you have to be 2,000 feet from any road, like,
Then you don't have any red space.
And then you add the 20-foot buffers of trees, so it limits it down to, I think,
500
200 square foot
that would take it down to 1,000. Right,
So you're pretty
200
much,
square
yeah,
foot.
you're banning
in the
it.
middle of the field.
If you built, yeah.
if you build the mound, the county would go to, you would cut that in half from the county road.
I think what we're doing is protecting the rural aspect of our county too. I mean, in railroad township already, we are 26, almost 26% covered.
yeah,
That's-
17%, and then 26 is either owned or leased by solar right now.
Wow.
That's, it's. I think we've done our due diligence and. At least in that township.
How much is Stark County solar? County.
The county, I haven't done
Yeah,
that.
like the map.
Yeah, I know. Mammoth is-
Not 100% accurate.
Three, maybe two or three.
It is- that's been updated for a while.
Something like.
I think total
This is one. the
lease
project one.
is 8% and then total inside.
And this, I think, is part of,
Two or three.
this is part of the loser.
But that's owned or that's developed? What's,
in
It's,
process.
it's
It's
right.
leased, so
It's
when
leased.
we look at it,
Middle.
I don't look at what's built yet, I just look at how many parcels are leased by a solar company. Because if it's leased, then you can add or remove, you know what I mean?
This is like, this isn't 100%.
right,
Just letting you know, it's not like a recorded document or anything, but we've been working on it.
So 26% of railroad township just
because
owned or built leased
Yeah,
solar.
that includes, Dunn's
That's
Bridge.
how
Park,
much
that has
it
included.
is considered a floodplain that you cannot build in.
is that?
No.
also-
I don't think anyone has built in a floodplain, like IDEM would stop you.
Oh, it is?
No, IDEM would stop you, they wouldn't allow you to build in a floodplain,
We can't.
yeah.
No.
I understand.
Unless you got a mitigation agreement.
So
You'd have
that's
to fill
my
the land to get it
question,
above
as
floodplain
a
level.
township, if 26% is already owned by the solar company or leased by the solar company, what's the other percentage that is considered uninhabitable and you can't even build on? So now how much of Railroad Township
It's left.
is
Yeah.
gone?
We should be
So-
done in our township, according to the cap.
Does that make sense? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where, I don't have that.
Well, if it's 24%,
And
you take all the ones
that's my
those by the
estimate,
river
because
on
I,
the other side of 421.
Dunsbridge only has one of their,
The other side of there.
and the second one's only proposed.
Yeah, that's,
so.
yeah. It's all
So is that
floodplain.
something
And
that
you're,
we
well, you're
should-
far away from it.
It comes up later.
Coming up.
Yeah.
I know the total acreage in railroad is 26,000 acres. Nextera between both of their projects have 6,100 leased acres. Whether it's paneled or not as of right now,
Can you say that again, please?
26,000, roughly 26,000 acres in Railroad Township, and Nextera has 3,500 on one and like 2,500 on the other project.
So this 26,000 acres in Railroad Township,
Yes.
is that mostly the Mammoth?
No,
No,
Mammoth's
no,
not,
the other side.
yeah, they're not railroad.
I don't know.
How much land are we gonna give up out of our whole?
23%.
With solar?
I think this is.
I mean, I just want, don't we have a cap? I mean, isn't there?
That's coming up.
Yeah.
Like, I did our part, you know?
He has better numbers.
The numbers that I came up with, 10,500 acres leased in the county, which is about, of the ag ground is about 11% of the ag ground, and it's 5% of the total ground in the county.
That's the whole county, but that's
Well, it
not,
should be
that's not what she's talking.
No, she's talking about, yeah,
Township.
yeah,
You know,
but
It's you guys, Craig?
no, that's
That's
all
everything.
full. That's Mammoth. That's-
Yeah, Hoosier Solar is a very small farm. Hoosier Solar has a couple hundred acres.
That's 25.
Yeah, we've got 2,500.
Oh, I only saw a couple hundred.
I think you're talking about owned land.
I was gonna say.
Maybe you own a couple hundred?
We own 4 parcels right now.
Okay, so maybe I just saw the own. Gotcha.
So, yeah, we've got a real small. I like that. We'll stick to that one.
Yeah,
You said how many acres? 2,500?
We've got about 2,500 total.
For Hoosier?
For the two projects.
Yeah, and that's for both of our projects.
So really we should, so if. I noticed that the cap was earlier on and we didn't really talk about it. Should we?
No, it's later in
It's
the,
coming up.
it's coming
Oh,
up.
okay,
Mhm.
all right. Oh, maybe I saw it under,
so additional required setbacks, did you guys come to an agreement?
Well, if we're at 2,000 feet setbacks from everything, including ditches, I don't know what more you put in there.
No, but you have options. So if you keep these are at least reasonable. It allows them to find participating landowners in a cluster and not be so prohibited by the 2,000 across the board. If you have these, at least it gives them a little room to build amongst participating landowners.
Are you talking about these additional required setbacks?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So if you leave them as is, at least you're giving them some breathing room. You
That's
keep
where
them at
the,
2,000,
the
it's pretty
gap
much
is.
it. Close.
I thought it was 12.2. They said it's.
I hate this thing, I'm telling you.
Okay, discussions from the board on this, additional requirements for setbacks?
I think we have to give them room, otherwise we're banning it.
Yeah,
So
but
your motion is to leave it as written?
Give me a minute.
what did we do with?
we already have a motion passed.
For the 2,000,
This, yeah, this is for participating
for
or
non-participant.
non-participating.
Right,
Yeah, but then,
and then you have the additional below it.
right, okay.
Yeah, over here. So the actual cap is back at 4.1.
Is it further in too?
Cap? thought
I
was
had it right
further in.
before 4.2.
It's 4.1.
It is,
Under jurisdictional.
that's correct. They're right. I thought it was in the back.
I did too.
You see it?
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
It was an addition at some point in time.
well, we should finish up what we're talking about then and we'll,
Right, go back.
yeah.
Okay, so Crystal, did you decide to make a motion to stick with what's suggested?
So
I don't,
these,
I don't know,
these are an additional
yes,
from, why do we have additional?
Because zoning isn't just participating landowners, you still have to have your setbacks from ditches, roads. So this is just taking everything in chart 1 of the zoning ordinance and specifying setbacks that you guys determine.
So the one above it is for non-participating landowners. This one is for roads, drains, ditches, wells.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah, so even if they have the ditch running through the 2 participating ones, they can't run the panels right up to the ditches on both sides or up to the.
So one thing that's not. Going, you might shoot me, but I mean, one thing that's not defined in it, it probably should be. Is ditches. Shouldn't it be illegal drains? Because we have no control over private ditches.
Right, we don't have any control
Right.
over private
Go back up,
ditches. Yep, you're right.
down.
It says regulated drains though, and legal ditches.
Okay.
Yeah,
I thought so.
so-
Yeah, in county waterways.
Okay, I just wanna make sure that
We
was,
would just say that if
Yeah,
they're both
so-
participating, they can't run up to
so
it.
if you have a drainage ditch and it's not a legal drain. You can build 2 feet from it if you want to.
right. Well, I mean, as long as it's not in a floodplain
Right,
or something
right.
like that, but yeah,
And then this section also outlines that you cannot use a berm to mitigate the setback requirements for these 5, 4.
oh, okay. You see, we leave it,
Unless it's approved.
Unless approved, yeah. you
because
gotta
it's all
approve
for
it.
participating, correct?
Well,
Yeah,
there, well,
this is
and-
participating and non.
right.
Oh, okay.
These are county vested interest items, so they have different setbacks.
Okay, I have a motion from Crystal to leave as worded. Do you have a second?
I'll second it.
Second from Kenny, all those in favor?
Okay, I guess I'm not understand, okay. From the potable, is it okay to discuss this?
Yeah, motion's made, you can.
For the-
Before you vote.
From potable water wells, private or public. Up above, we've got it 2,000 feet from a non-participating landowner, which could be that many feet away from their well. But down here, we're saying it's okay to put it 500 feet.
No, what it's saying is if you have a participating landowner,
This is for
it's
participating.
for the non-participating automatically zeroes out anything. here.
Okay, so these are.
So
down
in
here.
addition to the 2,000, if you
Okay.
find a place to build, it can't be within 500 feet of a well. Even a participating landowner, if his well's on the property line, you have to go 500 feet in
Okay.
now.
Okay. So this is only for participating in roadways.
It's for both, but a 2,000-foot setback for non-participating makes
It's going
these
to protect
irrelevant.
their well.
Right.
Okay, all right, I just want to make that clear.
This is just extra language
Mm-hmm.
in the event that this circumstance comes up.
Okay. Okay.
We have a motion and a second, all those in favor,
Aye.
Aye.
opposed? Okay, motion passes to leave as worded. We want to finish 6 and then go back and look at 4.1.
Sure.
Sure.
Anybody got anything on 6?
6.4. This is where DBA would also come in,
Okay,
or DBC, I'm sorry. The hum from the substations is what Kenny was referring to, and that won't be picked up by most DBA.
I think we should mirror the battery like we just discussed for that. The board thoughts?
I
I
agree.
agree.
So, good.
Yeah,
Motion to mirror battery storage for that.
I'll second.
Second, all those in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Opposed? Anything else in 6 before we backtrack to 4.1?
$6.7. Mike, is that what you were talking about for battery also?
Cobble,
Size of the trees and the.
cobble spaced.
Mhm,
Good job.
mhm.
I thought that earlier too.
And I see it was changed, a couple things in here I see were changed, and I'm not. See, it says
Oh,
20
it's
feet
been
in
a
10
while.
years, that's good, possible.
Those 43-foot trees.
Oh, yeah, it's been fixed.
But the berm
don't-
buffer was cut big time, it was cut in half.
Are you on 6.7?
That she
Yeah,
bounced us to
yeah.
6.7.
Oh, boy. I have a whole big thing on that.
Okay. Well,
No,
my phone
sorry.
couldn't see it,
Um,
I got it.
did anybody read any of this stuff or?
I did.
I read it
Yeah.
earlier
Oh, okay,
on my phone.
all right.
You wanna go through it?
That, I mean, whatever you guys need me to
You
do.
probably should, yeah.
All right, so, talks about the native species appropriate for Northwest Indiana. Within 3 growing seasons, be planted multiple staggered rows, minimum 2 rows, 3 preferred. Be located outside a regular drain right away, drain easement. Required plant mix, so we've got canopy trees required. A minimum of 1 canopy tree every 20 to 30 linear feet per row shall be installed. The approved ones would be swamp white oak, bur oak, white oak, hackberry, American sycamore, red maple. Minimum size of planting, we've got 1.5 feet to 2.5 feet. And 10 feet minimum in height. I'm sorry, 1.5 and 2.5 caliper, 10 feet minimum in height. Then it goes on to talk about understory trees. Which examples are eastern redbud, serviceberry, the shrubs, it talks about, 1 shrub every 6 to 10 linear feet per row. Talks about which ones are hazelnut, gray dogwood, red dogwood. Minimum size of planting, 5-gallon container. Ground cover required, all buffer areas need to be seeded with native prairie mix or pollinator friendly native mix. There's a Purdue pollinator scorecard that they would comply with. Trees shall be planted in staggered rows, shrubs shall be planted to fill gaps between trees. Rows shall be 10 to 20 feet. So again, just go and continue. Drainage protection requirements, not planting next to the right of ways, like I said, tiles. So I just went through a bunch of stuff because I did a ton of research on the planting of the native species and the trees and landscaping, and so it looks nice and country and, so that's what I've got. So this one is basically to protect the rural character of Stark County. That way when they're placed on agricultural land, it doesn't look like an industrial site. So that's what I've got.
The only thing I'd like to add to that is the option to use a blue spruce or a Norway spruce. Just, I know they're not native to here, but they have held up well.
Well, maybe we can talk about that.
I make a.
We use those.
A comment, the 7.3, the agrivoltaics exception to the standard ground cover, the net. Does that language allow us, because what we want to do is put sheep on the site, and we want to grow corn and cut hay, all kind of rural use. Uses. And use the land to do that, so we want to grow hay outside the fence that we can feed the sheep in the winter time when they're not grazing the site. Could we, and, you know, as the way I read 7.3 is that we could put together agrivoltaics plan and say, this is how we can screen. We're talking to companies about doing trees that have economic value, that might be fruit trees or nut trees or black locusts that we can make fence posts from, and things like that, that could be actually economically valuable rather than just ornamental. And if we do that, can we put the plan to the commission and say, here's what we're suggesting? And then you could say yes or no, but it would be that rural character because we're farming.
Right, yeah.
And
I see what you're
that's
saying.
what,
I guess I don't have
Yeah.
any issue with that
Mhm.
concept, except I still want the tree buffer
right,
around the outside of the fence.
right.
Now, what you guys do with the rest of the space would be entirely up to you, but I think that tree buffer will save a lot of phone calls to the county folks, because the quicker we get this behind something so people can't see it, the less it's gonna bother them.
Yeah, because it's very inconsistent. You know, if you're going 600 from 800 or 700, like, or 800 to 650.
Right.
Those there, it's in there, the trees are, there's several rows of them. But you go down a little bit farther and there's like 4 trees in a mile.
Mhm.
You know,
We're out there by
Yeah.
trees and it's awful. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Uh,
awful.
so on 7.3, I'm just gonna talk from a director standpoint.
Right,
His projects are already completed. He would have to apply for a use variance to do agrivoltaics. Because 7.3 Bravo states that they must begin within 24 months of operation, and they have been running for a while.
right.
So I would not allow him to do agrivoltaics because he's past the 24-month timeframe.
Under this ordinance, not
Under
the old.
this ordinance,
The
right?
old ordinance.
Yeah, we can keep doing what we're doing.
They can keep doing what they're doing, but there would have to be some kind of stopgap in the process, like you have 3 months to present that plan to the plan commission. You know what I mean? At a certain point, I would have to start enforcing it.
For the new,
Right, yeah.
or for a proposed project to get permitted.
Because that's the phone calls I've got. Is on 600 how,
Yeah.
you know, the trees are really good.
Nice, looks nice.
You go down a little farther and there's none. And it's like-
Township.
And that's like, why is this?
Yeah, out there. I mean, they're.
I mean-
And I don't think agrivoltaics was covered in the original ordinance, right?
Probably
It
not.
was just, you had to
No.
use native grass and all that fun stuff,
It
right?
had a pollinator
Right, so
mention, but that was never.
Which wasn't enforced.
if that's cool, then I would suggest you guys change the language. Something about non-conforming use, or they may present a pollinator plan after the signing of this ordinance, so they can come into, otherwise I have to follow anything that's missing from here, I have to follow normal zoning, you know what I mean? Or unless there's an ordinance in here that completely rips out the old solar ordinance and completely replaces it with this, I have to fill the gaps between zoning and this one.
I suggest we do.
So if this one says you must present it to the plan commission and they're already doing it, then the plan commission hasn't approved the plan, so they shouldn't be doing it, they should be using.
Whatever we're already
Whatever.
doing, you can make it illegal.
No, I'm saying they need to fix the language so it's not, is what I'm saying.
So something along the lines of, a different plan could be submitted to the plan commission and may be approved.
Right, or
But simple as that.
It's a,
Nations that was.
non-conforming uses have 3 months to conform or something like that. It just needs to be something.
Approved by the plan commission.
Right.
Otherwise.
Cause I have gotten a couple calls recently about sheep in the middle of solar farms, or putting up silt fencing was another one. People are calling and complaining that you're putting up livestock fencing around one of the sites, and I knew it's you guys that are doing agrivoltaics, so I'm assuming they're calling about you, but we gotta make sure we make it so you're not automatically in trouble as soon as they pass this.
Yeah.
Well, again, that takes me back to what they do in that buffer zone to me makes no difference as long as those trees are there to block
If I
out.
can't see it, then I can't do anything about it.
But if the trees would be behind that area, right?
If you can't see, you don't need to do anything about it.
Right. But if the trees, it depends, so that we were talking about solar or battery. Where does the setbacks begin? Where do the berms begin? Is the berms, 2,000 feet from the setback, or is the berms 150 feet off the road and then 2,000? You know what I mean? Like the context of how you're layering this landscape buffer needs to be outlined in its entirety.
Yep, you're absolutely correct.
I thought it was.
Where we get
Okay.
12-inch.
Well,
Under 12.
I see what he's
So
saying.
you said you have an 8-foot berm, right? But you didn't say where in that 8-foot berm it needs to be.
Okay.
Is the 8-foot berm after the fence, but before the
Or
panel?
is it 10 feet off
Is
the
it
right?
10
Or
foot
what
off
is
the
it?
road?
Yeah.
Like,
That's important.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking with trees, and then they can farm and
What
plant
they
hay
could do-
on wherever they want
They
out
can
there.
do
Yeah,
whatever they want there,
I
as
agree.
far as I'm concerned. So Chris, just so we're all talking the same language here, this is what's in my mind. If this was your project, tree buffer, whatever you guys do outside, to me, makes no difference as
Right.
far as growing. And as far as I'm concerned, if you guys put sheep on the inside, I don't care. I just am concerned that this buffer.
Yeah, because growing corn and hay is
Make
not a
sense.
buffer, because corn's only every other year
Yeah.
to start with. And it's gonna take all summer before it gets.
I
Yeah,
just,
But we
What you
talked
can see.
about leaving, like, you got 80 feet or 100 feet or whatever, you could leave a dozen rows up, and that's pretty opaque.
Yeah, but it's not gonna stay up forever.
No, then the next season you would plant
Yeah,
and take that down. So I mean, potentially you could use the annual crops as the
and see,
screen.
that's where I'm disagreeing with you.
Yeah, that's-
I
Yeah.
think-
you'd have to have standing corn for a year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cause I think in corn
Yeah.
takes 4 months to grow,
Mhm.
so.
Yeah, but you
Yeah.
would leave it, so you'd have some brown corn and you had some green.
Then you have dead corn.
But how would you plant green corn in the brown corn?
You would leave one
He'd stagger it.
stagger it.
You put like 6 rows here, then leave those and plant 6 rows here of green, then the next year do that. But once again, it comes down to, you're not gonna plant every corn every year. on the
But it's
ground.
not gonna be profitable, right? I mean,
Right.
it will grow.
Yeah,
You could make it grow. I mean, you're asking us to plant stuff that's gonna be very hard to grow. All the.
well, I think the planting of all the trees, isn't that in the original ordinance?
I think there was trees in the original.
Yeah, there are some
and-
trees.
And there is not trees, I've never looked at the original ordinance because
Is there a berm in the original
No,
ordinance?
no.
Oh, okay.
that would have solved the whole world
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
But you could-
That would have solved a lot of problems.
Yeah, I agree. That's what I was just thinking exactly, is
Yeah.
what you drew.
I hate this stuff.
like it says, maybe waived in specific zones of the project. I don't think that's,
Am I getting the
No.
consensus from
Technically,
before
no.
that this is the
you know what I'm
concept
saying?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have in mind?
So
So
we
John,
want it
could you
to look rural.
write something? So I personally don't care what they do inside their fence. If they wanna run sheep in there, that's their business. We need that berm of trees around the fence, and then whatever space is left around there. They could plant strawberries or
Right, but
corn.
what are those numbers?
Well, we can develop those numbers here, but I just wanna make sure our concept is we're all talking the same language.
Or the
Yeah.
other option is you put a berm out by the road and then you don't see any of it and they can do whatever they want on the inside of it.
Which I think was some of the language he gave, either.
and there's some problems with that. I mean, as far as from an aesthetics, it's a very, very good idea, but. If you have that berm placed on the west side of a road,
You got
guess
drift,
what's
Yeah.
gonna happen?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
It's gonna drift,
whereas trees would actually block.
stop it.
Yeah.
So.
I
I
agree.
mean, there's a whole
Lot of things to think
There's a
about.
whole bunch of stuff that. Yeah, that's where like we're just talking about, if there's a way. To put this stuff in there, but. Leave some wiggle room for some different plans that are agreeable. I mean, I don't think that's a,
One thing that most of them have the clause of is you can get the variance if you bring it to the board, like, hey, I don't want my trees here. I wanna do a whole perimeter of trees around my farm on the
Yeah.
inside.
Right.
Your corn idea is a good good idea, because the deer population by me is really dwindled because. All the panels and stuff, there's nowhere for them to go. You know, to really feed anything.
Corn, sudex.
It would help out the wildlife. Rabbits, everybody, you know, squirrel.
Sunflowers.
If you want.
Flowers.
Oh, there's some
Yeah,
really
why-
pretty grass there when you turn on the 210.
How about Christmas?
It's Ash Lake,
Talk about it a
it's
lot.
not this tall already, it's real pretty and funky.
That would be harvest. That's what I'm talking
Pretty,
about.
I think that's actually invasive.
It's pretty.
Some of those grasses.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, cause I get them now, they're taking over one of my ponds.
Yeah, it's an invasive.
Yeah, Christmas trees, yeah.
It looks
Bragg
pretty.
Mighty,
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, you what?
Bragg Mighty's, those.
Yeah.
What is that called?
What a year.
It could be.
Phragmites is a reed that grows 12 feet tall.
Yeah, a lot of
Fluffy.
those-
Yeah, it's very
One of my
invasive.
ditches.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's taken over.
Oh, it will.
They're
Like,
50 tons.
Yeah, it's hard to kill.
Okay, so if this is the concept, John, could you put the language in for that? and
Yeah, so
what-
you want a
what-
berm and then circle trees and then a fenced in area and they can do whatever they want within that fence.
Right,
As far as I'm concerned, they
Okay,
can.
so how far off of the property line and or roads do you want that berm?
Well, the berm is, I think we're talking about trees here. I think we need a double, the minimum double layer of trees staggered around.
Right, so the trees would be 10 feet in width or 20 feet in width, staggered trees, blah, blah, blah. But how far off the property line? do you want that? How far away
I
from
think
the
it needs to
berm?
be away from the fence,
How
so,
far away from the fence do you want?
but I'd say within 50 feet of the fence,
yeah.
both rows.
Or so far off the road, that way it's.
Or so far off the road, yeah.
So the vegetation.
So really it could
for-
be either way.
Well, Ascot County's had a problem with the trees along the road because then they're worried about the trees. Then maintaining the,
Well,
storm damage and stuff like that.
Oh, like
Yeah.
on power lines and
So
stuff.
they said, put them closer to the fence.
that would make sense.
I think
Yeah.
everyone was within 20 feet of the fence.
And then we gotta just manage the height because if they get too tall, then they shade it. So you gotta pick the right tree that doesn't go too high.
So we wanna say within 25 feet of the fence,
The
both
berm-
rows, no, both rows of trees within
Yeah.
25 feet of the fence. Is that good enough for you, John? To get
Must
started?
be
Must be within 25 feet of the fence,
no closer, within 25.
right? No?
Well, I don't know, trees are gonna grow right into the fence and. I don't know.
So you wanna give them 50 feet?
No, I'm fine, I'm just talking to myself, I'm just saying, like, the trees. I mean, I know how fast my pine trees and stuff grew and.
Realistically, what's the lifespan?
They're typically permanent for 30 years.
I was gonna say.
Would a tree go
about
from
that.
20 feet to the fence in 30 years?
No,
I'm just looking at it for the
Okay.
stormwater. They got-
you're good,
All right,
It's right
Okay.
at this one.
So
Yeah.
must be within 20 feet, no
20
farther
25
than
feet.
25 feet.
planted distance, so it's gonna bush out bigger than that.
You stagger it.
All right. The berm must be no farther
There's
than,
no berm
I'm
right in
not-
there.
I don't think we should. do
I know.
it.
we're not talking landscape buffer, we're talking the original. This just brought us back to, because you're discussing agrivoltaics and what is, you can do what you want with it versus what you can't, which brings up what is theirs or what are you mandating that they have to meet?
Berm, what do you mean berm?
The hill,
The
the
hill.
8-foot hill,
looks like a mound system septic, but taller.
You
Yeah.
mean to cut back the setback?
yes.
I
I'm
think if we have
nervous
the-
about the berms because exactly why.
Yeah, I think if they have the trees, then.
I think, yeah, I'm good
Yeah.
with trees.
So then we're going back and removing the berm,
Of reducing the setback.
which
by-
also reduces the setback by half clause.
Where is it at in here that
Maybe if
talks
they
about
do
the
a tree
berm?
buffer, it could set it back.
I think all plans shall be approved planning commission. That issue.
Yeah. I don't disagree with that.
Or 6.2.
Like, we gotta get back on track, we're bouncing all
Yeah,
over the
let's-
place.
You know, cause
Continue.
if you do it, just real quick back to the berm, if you would do it like we said in there. 6 feet, 3 to 1, it'd be 18 feet. It would be, the base of it would be 18 feet. So it'd be big.
The setback.
No, I'm talking about that would be the berm.
Oh, right,
berm is-
and it has to be 10 feet high.
Yeah,
So that berm is gonna take
it's gonna be more, it's gonna be
considerable
more than that.
amount of
This.
landscape.
That would be huge. No,
I don't
Where's
like
that
that
coming
idea.
in from?
No, I
then
mean,
you gotta clean it up.
try to mow, I mean,
Yeah, but I mean, even
Yeah,
the way
I mean, a 3 to 1 slopes like
Rainwater
37 degrees.
the
I think
drainage
they-
is all messed
So
up.
only leave the
I
berm
think
for
if
that
they did
exception.
that free thing, we could do that.
Yeah.
And the way he has it worded in here, to me, that says that in addition to the 10-foot berm, the double row of evergreen has to be planted on top of that berm. A berm not less than 10 feet in height and lined with double row of initial evergreen vegetation.
Which one is that under?
Spaced on center,
6'2".
every 10 feet with an initial planting.
So that's telling me you need double rows on top of the 10-foot berm.
Line.
No.
lines on centers.
That berm would be.
Yeah,
be
the
like
center
50
of the
feet at
berm,
the base.
every 10
It's
feet.
his-
No. Keep going.
It would be, it
Yeah.
would like, it
So
would
it
be
would
like
be-
unreasonable.
Be an eyesore.
So it had to
Oh,
be
yeah,
10
I
feet
agree.
high and at least 20 feet.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, that,
that don't make-
no, I agree. I don't like
I think
that.
that's more of an eyesore.
6.2.
Plus the drainage.
Yeah,
standpoint,
that's.
just, I don't know. I just, that's gonna be a mess.
Right.
It's gonna dam up
Right.
water.
Oh, yeah,
Well,
it's gonna be, yeah.
Terry brought up a good point. Go ahead, she's telling me.
That the berm is only under the setbacks may be reduced by 1/2 of the above stated
that's
distance,
the way it is.
provided that the CSES develop along each side a berm not less than 10 feet in height and lined with a double row of initial evergreen vegetation. Spaced on center every 10 feet with an initial planting height of 5 feet from the base tip. That's what Biz put in there. If they want to decrease.
Right, because that was
The
the
setback.
discussion, was using some form of berm.
So just
10
leave
feet
that.
and then trees on top of the berm.
Oh, so if they want it, they want the setback at 1,000 feet, that's what they have to do.
Yes.
Okay, that
yes.
makes.
So
more
that
sense.
would be the only berm that we're talking about.
Right.
Okay, so we can,
We'll be okay then.
yeah.
I think that berm needs to come out of there. I just don't think it's a good idea.
I don't
to have
either.
it.
I don't like
It's
it.
if they want the
That's
setback.
only
But
if they
for
want.
them, but for accounting
For us.
purposes, for watershed,
Yeah, I don't like
it's
that.
gonna cause a problem. And it could cause drifting on roads, depending on where it's
Well, if,
located.
but
So what are we
the thing
gonna
is, it's not
do?
gonna be anywhere near a road.
There's
Because
still be
they're only
500 foot
gonna
back.
use that if they're gonna reduce the setback from,
But there's no saying where they can put that berm.
well, if there's somebody's property. So. They go from 2,000 to 1,000 feet, where are they gonna put the berm? 50 feet off of their property, they're only talking about. Well, of course, they're participating now.
They're participating. So
Yeah, I
get
know,
rid
I
of
guess
that
I would
clause.
do the hell with the berm.
Yeah, I don't think it's doing any good
Get
here.
rid of that clause in 6.2.
It sounds like a whole lot of,
I
Whole lot of
don't think we'd
silliness
ever
to me.
do it. I mean, I just don't think we.
It's,
a lot of dirt.
You'd talk millions
Yeah.
of dollars just to put that berm around.
And
No,
then
no.
trees on top of it.
that, trying to maintain it until.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Their enforceability,
And
gonna get them to
that,
do
yeah,
it.
that sounds like craziness.
Yeah.
So we should go back to
Okay,
6.2.
so we're doing a motion to
Thanks.
kill the berm altogether, take D out completely, and then it's just 2,000 foot setbacks for non-conforming period. Is that the consensus?
For non-conforming, then 1,000 for participating.
Non-conforming. 1,000 for participating?
We're gonna cut it at 50%.
No, that's 50% for non-participating. So if you had a
Oh,
berm.
oh, yeah.
yeah, I'd say
Okay.
strike D. What was the reason we put it in there?
To try to get it, so there was a clause that
They
they
could get a
could,
little bit closer, instead
Oh.
of 2,000, they'd only be 1,000.
Yeah.
Could you just change it with approved
Still,
plan?
2,000 is not buildable, but I'm just saying.
right,
I made my point there.
All right, back. So,
are we going back to 4.1 now?
well,
What are we
We
doing?
never did get circled to that and we've been bounced all over it.
You know, but
Yeah.
John's,
oh, no, yeah, for the 3% versus.
oh, okay, we're
10%.
good.
4.2?
4.1.
4.1,
Okay.
Go back and forth, still 4.
they skipped over that.
Oh. Let's erase from the tablet.
Acreage in each township, 80 half this split.
So. Is any of this tied into our comprehensive plan anyway?
Oh, this is all in fact. No, I mean, it's all, they're hand cuts. Oh, okay. So that's.
It should have.
All right, I'll pass my.
Well, but it doesn't align with it,
Yeah, not at all.
But it should.
but it wasn't.
I mean, the comprehensive plan should align with this on the.
Right.
You know what I meant.
So with 4.1, we've got a cap here of percentage total acres in a township, 3%. Is that a percentage that we're
Hold on, I
already
have something
exceeding
to
that?
look through
We're
here.
like way over that.
It should be done.
Where did this come from?
This is from Chris.
Yeah, that's just, I just put the acreages of what the township, what a 3% cap would be and how that would. And then on the back, it has the information about the size of the projects and
So at a
relative to.
good number of the townships, we would already be exceeding the 3%. So then those townships would be essentially done being developed.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, thank you.
Unless they came in and asked for a variance.
But you're also already exceeding the county total as well at 5%.
Did we need to alter this then, or leave it as written?
What do you want to alter too?
I don't think it needs altered. I think it's.
I'm with you.
Can't control this.
It's just gonna make a comment.
Where does it say the whole for the whole county? On here?
The very end of 4.1. Oh, no.
It says the 3 per township.
Yeah, I didn't see a
But it doesn't
5% for
have-
the county.
Yeah, I've never seen 5%.
Total for county percentage.
Yeah, I
Yeah, that's what I was
didn't see
looking
that.
for too.
Yeah, doesn't show where we're at on the county.
I think we
Overall.
should keep it by.
No, but like on the ordinance, where is it?
Oh.
What are?
Yeah, because the
Campus.
county doesn't even make any difference to the other township.
They're not
Or
gonna ever have
What's
it.
the difference?
Yeah, they're-
I mean, if you have a township of 6%, whatever.
So
It
you don't
doesn't
want-
matter what the
you don't
county
think
is
we need
because you'll never. It's gonna be whatever that 6% is per each
Yeah.
township. So that's kind of a moot point.
Yeah.
Really.
Just one thing I wanted to point out, that's in there, is a minimum size shall be 10 acres with 2,000 set, look, you'll never have 10
No.
acres anyway,
mm-mm,
mathematically.
Not gonna happen. So we can take that out pretty much.
I mean, think about it anyway, no commercial solar is gonna invest in anything less than, a couple hundred acres.
Yeah, that seems
So-
pretty.
You'll be surprised. Some of the parcels that are set up are signed up already, 80, 16.
Doesn't hurt to leave it in there, but if you guys wanna pull it out.
Yeah, 10 by 10, by
Oh,
10.
hell.
I think we need to
The
leave it in.
10 acre thing, it doesn't,
So do we want to make any changes then to 4.1?
I mean, if you even took that and if you took it to. Took it to 10%, we're already.
Yeah.
We're over the 10%. For percentage of cap,
I think we've gone above and beyond
yeah, we're,
in our county.
because railroads aren't like 25%.
Hmm.
Or yeah, something like that, right, 25.
times 3. So where do we, how much, where do we put an end at? Sent it to me right then.
It's like that.
You know?
You made a suggestion to leave it where it's at, correct?
Is this,
Yeah, just a suggestion.
is this right here where we're at today? That is established already, or is this counting what is proposed also?
3% cap.
Yeah, he just.
On the back.
No, I mean, I know, but
Hypothetical out.
from what is proposed to be. Added. And compares to where we stand now. With developed,
But if there's some that aren't developed, we could still have 3%.
see, like Hoosier projects
That's a bit.
are not developed yet,
Right.
right, but they're gonna be.
So that's not done, and that's,
And that's in North Bend Township.
North Bend and Washington and Center.
Yeah.
North End is showing here,
Yeah.
And then Dunn's, this says Dunn's too, I think that it's their neighbor convention.
Yeah.
So our Dunn's two is not on here either, we just did the math on that today, it was
I'm
like
saying, it's like
over
Todd
3,000.
says, we're like at 25%.
That is
3,600.
all that has been.
Yeah,
proposed
so
right now.
the
That proposed.
next Darrow's second project, the one
Okay,
that's
but
on hold right now
what
is
is
3,700 acres.
Completed, that's it, the acreage completed.
What does
Is that the
it
one at
say
the
for
top?
Dunn's?
That's all.
Total for Dunn's.
So Dunn's as of right now has 2,000
Township
acres.
600.
That's
It's not including, this is complete, it's not including the 3,600 that is currently tied up. So they'll be at
There'll be some in.
5,600.
Yeah, put them just under 6,000, we did the math.
What are you
Right,
gonna do with
so
this?
they'll be at 5,600, which changes our totals a bit.
I don't mind.
Where they at?
All railroad except
Yeah.
for 2 or 3 parcels are in lane.
Are we done discussing the 3%?
We have a motion from Terry to leave as written.
I'm gonna leave it as written. I'd make a motion to leave the 3% cap as written.
But aren't we past that?
We are.
Free township, correct?
Right,
So they could come into another township and still,
Why don't we go
3%
3%
more.
for the county?
we're way over that.
Above that.
Oh, boy.
That's why I think the whole countywide thing doesn't really make any difference. If
Yeah,
you
just
get,
keep it at the-
if you're gonna have a limit per township, it doesn't matter. The most it can be is whatever that 3% of all the townships are.
Right, and some of the
So
townships
it still
don't have
comes
any,
out to
so they
be
could still come into those
3%.
townships and build.
Only
Like Monterey?
3% of their
Can't build a house
total
there.
acreage,
Just go to farm, go there.
which is not.
So we have a motion from Terry to leave 4-1 as written. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Dale, all those in favor,
Aye.
opposed, motion passes.
They can always come in for variance.
Okay, so we were back to
7.
7. I think we were through 7.
Yeah, we were up to 8.
He's trying.
He is.
Anything else for 7? Okay, section 8.
See, this one's written a hell of a lot better.
Cause we went through this one with Gwen last
Yeah,
time.
this one. This is what needs to mirror when the matter storage. As far as the stormwater runoff and all that stuff.
so, when we did talk about battery storage, I brought up my pages and pages and pages full of drainage and regulated drains and read it and whatever, and it passed.
That's
So-
right along.
I just throwing it out there, well, I would like to see that put in there, I feel like that's important.
Okay.
So your
So that's my motion, yes.
motion from Gwen. Do you have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Anything else for 8?
Yeah,
Section 9.
really.
Wait 1 second. Sorry, so then I have that, also have the, its own section. For the property value protection program that I talked about.
Battery.
Yeah, so the same thing I had for the battery. So that's my motion. I'd like to have the property value protection program.
Well, that's a separate section, right? Like. the-
Yeah, it's its own
Yeah.
thing.
A motion from Gwen for property value protection.
I'll second it.
Second from Todd. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, section 9.
Appears to me an odd mirror the one that's in the battery. Right? There's really. I mean, the way it's written now, it's written almost exactly the same.
The one-time collective payment of $20,000
Yeah, that should mirror the
to
one.
be divided. That's not divided amongst,
No, that's what I'm saying, it should mirror what the other one
Right.
was.
that's not very much.
If I could make a suggestion on that part, I think dividing at the discretion of the commissioners is the wrong way to go. It should be divided amongst the responding units, like any, the responding fire departments, the responding EMS. Someone in North Bend shouldn't get railroad money because
I think it's at the discretion of the commissioners.
I mean, it ought to be based somewhat on however the mutual aid agreement set up.
Right, and I think
You know.
the reason that you would have that language as the commissioners is so there's not a bunch of bickering. You know, they could come to the commissioners make the final say, and that's where the money goes. So I think that language is good.
And that means the commissioners, the county would control that money.
And it would go
And
where
I-
it needs to go.
And I've said that all along, that maybe that is the best idea. As much as I hate government reaching into anything.
What,
So that happens, just like what Mike said. You know, you don't give $200,000 to North Bend Township or
Right.
whoever. And they say, hey, we're gonna buy a new fire truck. Oh, you guys want something here? Here's a helmet. You know. call it-
yeah, when you create funds, don't you have to specify what those funds can be used for? So,
You have to name the fund.
right,
If you can't specify what it's used for, you just have to call, you just pass an ordinance. Like we did with the solar.
right.
Pass an ordinance.
So if you're passing
So
an
you can do
ordinance to create a fund and these funds shall be used for equipment
Yeah.
and. But if
Only,
it's
only,
spread,
they would have, only, there would have to be the stipulation. That they would have to come in front of the council to have the money appropriated to them. So just like anything else. You know,
So really, it should
show the
be-
need,
Commissioners.
Yeah.
council.
show the need, and then it's easy.
so commissioners and council?
Yeah.
And council to that?
Yeah, and they should not, well, it'd be the council's ultimate decision.
Right,
Right.
right, just like they do now, they go to the commissioners and the commissioners approve and then they go to the
Yeah,
council.
and that way, there's no favoritism, it's,
Mhm.
I think that's.
The only clause we might put in there is that the money received per year should be spent that year.
That's a good idea,
Otherwise, it's gonna end up in a big account somewhere and nobody divvies it out.
that's a good idea.
Yeah, so it needs to be divvied out within a calendar
Yeah,
year
I agree.
to the departments.
I agree.
Now, should this mirror the battery, the amount? And this is just a one-time
Yeah,
collective
it's
payment,
one time, not yearly.
that's not very much
I
money.
think we should probably increase that.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not as concerned about the
No,
fire
I'm not
with
either.
this as I am with the battery. So maybe 50,000 a year annually.
Yeah, I'm not concerned with it either.
Annually,
When I spoke to the fire department. They told me that the standing order from the solar companies was basically they didn't want them entering.
Well, if there's a
The voltage.
grass fire to try to get that put out, but there, you don't wanna.
But if there's a
water
water
on a
fire,
fire, yeah,
Yeah, obviously.
yeah,
they're out.
yeah. Yeah.
So I think that would play, cause I mean, if it's a simple grass fire, that's one thing, but an electrical fire obviously is different. I think that should play in.
Well, that.
so if that's the case, why are you guys asking for money if they're not even allowed to respond to a fire within the perimeter of the solar farm?
who's supposed
They
to
have
respond to it?
But they're not allowed to.
Yeah, but
They're not allowed to.
You still have,
They have access.
you
to
still have
it.
to protect what's outside of it.
Yeah,
I mean, you have all
What's
these
outside is
exposures.
gonna be your grass fires. There's not gonna be electrical fires in the middle of an empty
They-
field.
they-
Grass
they-
trucks cost money.
So they can go.
Yeah, they can go
Yeah.
inside.
Whose calls that to make? If somebody calls 911, they call you guys?
You know, that goes to the fire department, and the fire department.
And they have to.
They
know
they have
they're-
to respond.
they're
Trained on
Right.
it. They know what they need to do.
And that
Understanding
comes,
what they
and that,
do.
that comes down to 9.6 where there's SOPs. So,
So are we doing 50,000 per year?
Yeah, I think that.
per year,
Yeah.
okay, because right now it says a one-time collective payment.
So I'll make the motion 50,000 annually for the duration of the project.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
I,
Opposed?
The initial money stays the same?
50.
50,000.
Well, you said 50 per year, but is the initial sum the same as what's listed? I can't see, she's.
Looking at initial sum.
it said a one-time
20.
collective payment of, but they
So,
want to change
Yearly.
it to annually, 50,000.
Annual.
okay, so you're getting rid of that period
Yep.
and a one-time fee upfront of 50 and then annual recurring payments for every year after that.
Okay, that's.
Of 50,000.
It's the same thing.
50,000 annual.
50,000 every.
And
What he's saying is that first year, you won't wait a year to get that first 50.
You get it
the
up
first 50 right.
Yes. Anything else in 9?
Yeah. Why at 9.4 was number 2 struck?
9.2.
9.4
Mhm.
under A2. Why is any designated mutual aid fire department identified by the primary respondent? Why was that striked out as part of the whole thing?
I don't have anything struck.
See, that's where it comes in, like what you said, Mike. Where commissioners and the council. See, because the way the way it's worded now. It's saying everything goes to the primary fire department. At one point in time, it did have any designated mutual aid, which we had talked about. Priorly, a few minutes ago. And I just noticed that that's striked out.
I think it was struck out to give it up to the commissioner's discretion and not just equally divided up against all the.
Well, that's not really what it says, because they left one in there, and one says the primary responding fire department.
That's how it initially was written. The departments that are spending the money in training
Right,
are the ones who should be receiving the money, but
agree.
you guys. At some point decided or discussed to give it to the commissioners, and that's where that
but
came.
I'm looking at the one that's on here is from April 8th. I don't know if the one that people have on paper is different than this one.
No, it's the same,
It's safe,
but I don't think they can see unless they printed it to see the updates.
yeah,
And I'm not familiar with Viz's convention, his revisions. It's like
Yeah.
he's got a rainbow on there.
yeah, I know,
So
yeah, all right.
Anything else in 9? Section 10?
If all that needs to go back to. Just like we said with the battery. Right?
Yeah.
Mirror that.
Yeah, mirror that so we don't spend another hour on me running my mouth. Even though I'm getting tired, I can still talk. Eleven, I'll save my soapbox, it's already been so.
Okay, anything in 11?
Same as I said before.
Any additional changes? Section 12?
Can we go to? For some reason 11.6 says definition of construction.
I'm gonna remove that.
Yeah, because that,
I think that is, in my opinion, it comes off as an offensive dig at the situation that's going on.
yeah, because,
It doesn't need its own 11.6 and this elaborate breakdown. Like, it fits perfectly in the definitions and we should leave it at
yeah,
that.
You're
This-
taking it out of.
This seems
11.6?
personal, yeah.
You're correct,
because,
okay.
because A and D, for one thing, are not construction.
No, they're not.
So
So
that-
it just
that might be
seems like,
okay.
yeah,
Okay.
I'll
No,
get
I
that
agree.
removed.
Okay. So you're taking 11.6 out.
I think 11.6 should go out and the definition of construction should be with the rest of the definitions for the ordinance.
Yes,
agree.
thank you. I was wondering why that was there. Because it really didn't have anything to do
No.
with the road.
Okay, anything in section 12?
Well, maybe the coverage,
Yeah, we
The
can mirror
general
that.
liability, and then possibly now see here it has environmental/pollution. So they probably should have a pollution coverage.
What did we put on?
we were gonna let John
Um,
decide or what,
yeah.
look,
Yeah, he was gonna do some.
Industry
Yeah, I'm gonna
standard.
look at the
Okay.
industry standards,
because, yeah,
and that's in 12.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's fine.
I think as we discussed when we were on battery, once you create that, maybe email the board. And let us kind of know ahead of time before the next meeting what you did come up with.
Yes, I'll send you a recap tomorrow, and then I'll probably send you an
Tomorrow.
updated recap. Within a couple days about the things I have to research, and then. I'll get with Viz probably Friday to start the updates.
Anything on section 13?
I'd say as long as all that stuff is consistent. Well, that's what matters, is consistency.
John, are you okay with enforcement and does it
Uh,
mirror
yes,
the
that's-
battery?
An admin note, the, scroll up a little bit. Up, you're going down. Right there. Continue work while stop work order active constitutes a separate violation for each day of activity. It should say will trigger immediate civil penalties because a violation of work order is a penalty for everybody. So that's just minor administrative. It won't change anything. Other than this, if you were asking about the battery, if you scroll now, go down. Keep going. Keep going. Oh, go up. Where'd it go?
Yeah, see, even the young guys gonna stand up.
I'm glad
Oh,
I did mine
it's-
before I
right
got here.
Scroll up a little bit.
Well, I got my foot, my foot's numb from that wreck.
Yep, right there.
That's right.
So this is the way the battery will be laid out. The immediate stop work order is issued. There's no penalty. Unless action is completed, it'll be changed to 10 days. And then scroll down now. There is the fine breakdown for
Yeah,
the solar.
it's like what you said.
Right.
So anything else in 13? Section 14, and then I think we move into the road use agreement, which John's gonna work on.
We'll be having behind one land off, if you got a vacation planned or.
I got 3 days to, oh, we don't get vacation, so we've been here for a year.
Saving up that comp.
You're gonna wait only a year?
Yeah.
Jeez. All right, anything else from the board on this? I think he's got a lot to work on.
No.
Yeah.
I do. I would ask the board that maybe consider holding the solar and battery ordinance in the hearing on the 29th. You guys have made a lot of changes to both ordinances, and I'm not convinced there won't be additional changes, and we only have 2 weeks before the hearing.
Personally, I would rather not, but
No,
whatever.
let's get them done.
Well, I think once Nathan sees it, we'll have some things to say.
We're gonna continue on with the public hearing on the 29th for the.
Yes. What
Oh,
I'm
I
saying
thought you
is
said
you can-
pull them.
You can pull them from the hearing. We have until the end of the moratorium, so there's no point in getting them in 3 months early if
No.
it needs more work.
But if we are ready, there's no sense.
If you are ready,
Absolutely, more public hearings.
Do you think, do we need one more meeting?
I think so. I think rushing it on the 29th is too tight.
Do you think? If
Because
we
I-
meet again next week?
Well, I don't even know if John would be done with it by then. I mean, it's pushing a lot
Yeah,
of work.
this would be on Viz. I don't have the master copy he does. So I'm gonna make this look cute for him, but ultimately it's gonna be up to him to make these changes.
Okay.
I just think we're probably gonna need at least another half hour each to approve the changes that we've just all agreed on,
Once he gets them done
and
and
then schedule a public hearing. That's my.
Your next
opinion.
meeting is the 13th, your next monthly meeting. We have time to turn that into a public hearing. It'll push it 2 weeks back, but it's your guys' call.
I think we need to do it as soon as possible and get it over with. We're ready. The longer we drag this on, something happens.
Well, it's already posted around for the 29th. You can always cancel it on the 20th. We already paid legal. fees.
Yeah, I wasn't saying you gotta make a decision. I'm just saying in the back of your minds, up until the day of the hearing, you can pull these off.
I just say going through all the trouble, getting to school and all this and then pulling it off. If we're ready, just do it.
Well, what I'm saying is we're not ready because we haven't seen the draft.
Well, we
yet.
have a couple of weeks.
But we
right.
have to schedule a meeting.
Yeah, next week, right?
Oh.
Haven't done that.
John will be ready.
That's tight.
I will not be next week, oh, no.
John, what's your guidance?
My guidance is at the very least, we need a meeting next week. And hopefully Viz can brush through these changes.
Do you think that's realistic or do you think that's a stretch?
I don't know his workload. I know he does have a couple high profile cases he's involved in. So I don't want to speak for him.
So that'd be 2 weeks from today, right? Is when the hearing is supposed to. be,
Yes, sir.
Right?
So next week would be essentially your last opportunity to hammer out all these changes and
Yeah.
make sure you guys are good.
I don't know why
Yeah, a ton of
29
changes.
was coming up so fast.
I just feel like we made a lot of changes that we're gonna need to fine tune. What if the interpretation from John and Nathan is not what we even discussed here? Right.
Yeah, I'm not perfect.
I mean, it's reality.
You're pretty close.
So leave it's already scheduled for the
It is
public
scheduled.
hearing.
We just cancel it the day. I mean,
So maybe by the end of this week, you could tell us if there's any realistic way that we can have anything ready for next week.
Yeah, Nathan's supposed to call Amber and I to go over this on Friday.
Okay.
You may not see the draft till the meeting,
See,
Yeah, I like
that's
to
not
have it
real.
at time.
but
You can't cram that much and
unless he's gonna work the weekend to knock out all the changes, you probably won't see it any earlier than Tuesday or Wednesday morning.
You're going on vacation or work.
I'll be back Friday, but that falls into no meeting on Friday.
Like that.
so you want to let us know in a couple days what the reality of all this is?
It would be the same thing. It's easier for me to cancel a meeting, than it is to get a quorum once we leave this meeting. So if you guys agree and the meeting is scheduled for next Wednesday and I get a hold of you Friday and say, hey, it's not gonna work, it's a lot easier to say, okay, disregard the meeting.
So let's do that.
Yeah, let's do that.
Next Wednesday?
That would be next Wednesday,
You're not gonna be here.
be the
I
22nd.
can attend through
You
Zoom.
know what?
Oh, that'd be
22nd.
You can still comment, you just can't vote.
Right, right. I mean, yeah, I can attend through Zoom, so.
And this isn't a voting, it's just another working group.
Right.
So there's
It'd
no
be the
vote.
it'd be the 20, what did you say?
22nd.
So I will not. I will not be here.
Can you zoom?
Nope.
Any other day.
I'll
that
be in
week?
double secret probation stuff.
No.
How about Thursday?
Yeah.
Thursday, I'll be another double secret probation meeting.
Can we do it like the Monday? Like,
You can do it any other
Week
day.
up?
I just try to give you guys.
Yeah.
consistency.
Okay,
They do have a council meeting on the 20th, so you can't do Monday.
can't do the 20, you can do the 21st, but I'm gonna be at the candidates night.
Why don't we just pencil it in for Wednesday and you can email us ahead of time so Todd can see
Yeah.
it and then if he's got.
Yeah,
concerns-
I can do it, cause I will not be here Wednesday, there is no way, I've had a 2-month commitment. And I have no choice. I have to go,
Okay, so Dale and Todd, neither one of you are gonna be here on the 22nd anyway,
so I
right?
think you guys gotta all show up.
way to put the stress on.
So we'd have 1, 2, 3,
Yeah,
4,
Mark,
5, it's probably Mark. So it'd be tight, but we could probably make it.
We got it. Just you and me.
You guys pencil it in?
We'll get it out tomorrow, sir.
I could probably come right after my meeting, but you guys will probably still be here, I'll just be right.
across the street.
did we
Across the
say the
street.
23rd when it was?
You can't do the 23rd either.
Oh, okay. Alright,
All right.
Anything?
yeah.
There you go.
Guys,
I think most of them
got a motion, do we have a second?
Yes, second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Oops, I do that.